This place will erupt if the Blues can get the equalizer before the end of the period. Broberg down low. Snuggerud turns, centers. Oh, wire. Thomas, he scores! 2-2. Robert Thomas ties it up.
Remember how excited we used to get with goals like that? And this season, alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, Robert Thomas got off to a sluggish start this season, started to pick it back up, then got hurt once again. And Alex, Robert Thomas's name is once again in the headlines, though this time for very different reasons. Darren Dreger was on a podcast the other day and said this in regards to Robert Thomas's possibility as a trade candidate for the Blues.
I mean, there have been lower level conversations about trading Robert Thomas. Now, to trade Robbie Thomas, not unlike Quinn Hughes, you better damn well get what you're hunting for. And that's a big package coming back the other way. And why is Robert Thomas's name out there? And that would be the due diligence that the pro scouts are doing around the NHL. What is it about this guy that the St. Louis Blues don't like, or that they're willing to put him in play, right? I mean, that's what pro scouts do, and that's the due diligence of hockey operations. So if you're willing to have a conversation at that level of the Blues organization, then there's probably not that many guys that wouldn't be in play. I think they have to be open for business, but how quickly Armstrong wants to act is what's going to be most interesting to me.
That was Darren Dreger, one of the best NHL insiders in the business, on the Sekeres and Price show up in Vancouver. They asked specifically about the Blues. He brought up Robert Thomas's name unprompted, Alex. He was the player that immediately came to mind for Darren Dreger when it came to, hey, what are the Blues' plans if they do become a seller? What do you make of it?
What I make of it is Robert Thomas, in all reality, his name is in these conversations because that's three now of the big heads when it comes to the NHL analysts around the National Hockey League that have said Robert Thomas's name. Chris Johnson was the first one to put it on the athletic board. Now Darren Dreger, Jeff Merrick has mentioned that. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Pierre LeBrun has had it in his piece as well over on the Athletic. The only one I haven't heard say it is Elliot Friedman. But my guess is the noise is going to continue to heat up. What I make of why Robert Thomas's name is out there, the team needs a change. And Doug Armstrong sees it. Alexander Steen sees it. This is going to be 4 years of underperforming in the first 3 months of the season. It's going to be the 1 year that we're not firing a head coach because of the team's malpractice on the ice. And it's going to be a season that the Blues were expecting to push for a playoff spot and instead might be drafting top 3. When that happens, and you can't blame the coach, you look at the players. And look, Shen, Falk, Binnington, their names are in the conversations because they're pending free agents or they got an extra year before they're free agents. They're the older group of players that have phased out of the core. But I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem are the main guys that they expected to take this young group and transition into the new era of Blues hockey. We've talked ad nauseum about Jordan Kyrou. I don't think we talk a lot about Pavel Buchnevich, but it's because it's going to be a difficult piece to trade. So then you get to Robert Thomas. Why is his name out there? Because he is the best asset you have on your team that could warrant a return to shift you in a different direction to try and still be somewhat competitive. And I think if you're Doug Armstrong, you throw the bait out there. You put the worm on the hook, you throw it into the water, and you see what bites. Maybe nothing. Maybe nobody comes to the table and says, yeah, we want that, because they see what we see. But it's hard for me to believe that a 26-year-old centerman who's in control, who, regardless of how you feel how he's playing, that is a steal of a contract, what he is making over the next 5-6 years. So that's why he's out there. The Blues are trying to find out, can we find something that shifts the direction of our team? Because it's not going in the direction we want. And is there a team that's willing to bite on this player and pay a hefty price?
Johnny over on the YouTube chat said it's absolute insanity to discuss Thomas over Kyrou being traded. We're not doing that. We're discussing Thomas because he is in the headlines right now. This is not an either or. This is a what is all on the table for the Blues? Could it be Thomas and Kyrou and Shin and Binnington and Pius Suter,
and Falk.
Are they done with this core and they're going to transition to a new core? And I've seen it on the text line as well. Guys, talk about Kyrou, not Thomas. Okay.
But also Kyrou's name has been out there for 3 years, and has he been traded yet?
No. And it may be because the Blues didn't want to do it. It may be because there was a lack of interest out there. I can promise you this. If Robert Thomas's name is out there, teams are interested. That guy is 26, 27 years old, point per game producer, and for all of the qualms that I may have and that Blues fans may have with him not reaching that next level, I asked you this question before the show today, Alex. I'll do the same right now. If the Blues were a contender this season, and you take Robert Thomas off the team, say he's part of the Buffalo Sabres, and he's had the exact same career, you change nothing else about his history, we would be shouting from the mountaintops for the Blues to acquire that level of player, because it just doesn't come available very often. A guy under contract long-term at a good number who has his level of success already at the NHL level at his age, that's a unicorn, man. That guy is, and he's good defensively. Good luck finding that player. Never available in free agency, almost never via trade, and he's already developed, so you don't have to do that process either. You're not like squinting and tilting your head and wondering what could he be. No, this is a what is he right now kind of a trade. So teams that are already in contention can be interested in a player like Robert Thomas because he can help them get over the top. If this guy slots in as your number 2 center, you're a championship contender, a legit Stanley Cup contender this year. If you're a team that's starting a build, well, I can acquire Robert Thomas and he becomes the player that I build around. And I can just say, yeah, they never got him the talent that he needed in St. Louis to take that next step. We've got a winger here that we think will unlock the next level of Robert Thomas. So there's every reason to believe there would be a ton of interest across the NHL in a player such as Robert Thomas. I am a bit skeptical that this is the kind of trade that can get done at the deadline, though.
I'm with you.
That's my biggest reservation on this, is less so about what could you get, who would be interested, would the Blues actually make the deal? Like all of that, yeah, sure, fine. In this kind of a season, everything has to be on the table. But how do you make it work? How do you make this kind of a deal in a capped league where so few teams have space, and it would probably be a money in, money out situation for most of the teams that you'd want to do business with?
Yeah, this to me isn't a deadline move. This is a hockey trade or close to a hockey trade to where you're getting something that's close to the NHL level. Now, I think if the Blues are moving Robert Thomas, they're looking for a guy who more than likely is a future top centerman, projects to be that. That's more along the lines of 21, 22, 23 years old, because that's more in line with Snuggerud, Dvorsky, Carbonneau, Stenberg, Neighbors, Holloway. Like, you're shifting the core. I think we talked about this from Doug Armstrong's comment when he was talking about the core of the players with the beat writers. You're shifting it now to the younger portion of your roster, and you're moving on from this piece. I don't think these deals get done. It's not only a team that wants Robert Thomas, it's a team that the Blues want pieces on their roster for, right? Like, I think every team is going to say, we want Robert Thomas. Great, but do you have a young centerman that projects to be a top player? Do you have a young defenseman that projects to be a top player? Because if what Darren Dreger said is true, where he's kind of looking at what the Vancouver Canucks got for Quinn Hughes, I don't think you're getting that much, because that's the equivalent to 4 first-round picks.
I don't know, man. Maybe,
but I mean, Quinn Hughes is a player that has done it consistently, and I don't know if Thomas is that.
If you're going to get that, you almost need Thomas to really open things up on his no-trade list as well, because that's the other tough part about this as well. You know, there's been no reporting on this, but you saw this when it came to, like, the Vladdy thing, right? If you have a guy that says, hey, I'm willing to go to 3 teams, man, you're very limited in then what you can do. Now, you can continue to play hardball because you've got so much control on him.
I think there's a pretty big difference in those two, though. Robert Thomas has multiple, like a good amount of control remaining, whereas Vladdy had just the 1 year left.
Sure. I was just using him kind of as a placeholder because I think it's an example of there are times where these can get in the way and bog down some value. Not all. But
I would say this is quite different, though, because of age, because of the style of player, and because of the term that remains. If you get 3 teams interested in Robert Thomas that he's willing to go to, that's all you need.
Yeah, as long as it's the 3 teams that have the pieces you want, that's all you need.
Absolutely. You don't need more than that. Whereas with Vladimir Tarasenko, I think the problem is he's a very specific fit. It was late into the offseason. Teams had already constructed their rosters, and now we're trying to add this piece that, are we really moving a bunch of stuff around to make this guy work for one season?
Yeah.
When he already had injuries, there were questions about is he the best fit locker room wise? Like, there's just a lot that came with Vladdy. I don't have to worry about any of that stuff with Robert Thomas. I can have this dude on my team for the next 6 years. He's 26 years old. I have him through his entire prime of his career. Yeah, I'll make it work. I'll move mountains to acquire this level of player. I would be curious what the Blues would want. Like, what's the conversation starting point? Because, Alex, there are some teams that could make some kind of a hockey trade with the Blues to make this work. Like, I don't know how realistic this is. I'm just talking about this from a theoretical standpoint, okay? So don't take this and run with it, aggregators. The Dallas Stars, they've been rumored to be in conversations with Jason Robertson for a couple of years now. He's an RFA. He's going to get a boatload of money. He's having a fantastic season. 27 goals in 47 games. That's ridiculous. And it's a continuation of really what he's been his entire NHL career. I don't think they're going to be able to re-sign him, Alex. I don't think it's realistic. They don't have the money to make that work. If you're the Blues, though, would you look at this and say, all right, he's 26 years old. Robert Thomas is 26 years old. We can re-sign Jason Robertson. We have the money that's necessary. That's the thing we're missing, is that true sniper, that number one go-to goal scorer. He takes some of the weight off of the shoulders of a guy like Jimmy Snuggerud. He allows some of our other young wingers to have the amount of time that is necessary to develop at the NHL level. We'll do more of a hockey trade here, extend Jason Robertson long-term. The Stars are able to get a center in return under long-term control, so now they can make that work. They don't have to worry about the $10 to $12 million a year contract. No, they've got it at $8 for Robert Thomas. That's the kind of thing, and I'm using that as a placeholder. Would the Blues prefer a ready-made NHL player where you're not getting as many things in return, but the quality of the player is as high as you can get, or would they be going for futures?
I think they're going, not so much futures, but guys that are younger that could be on this team next year. So the tinfoil Ferrario wheels started turning once all of this news started to come out, and I was looking around and being like, okay, what would make sense? I can't get my eyes off of the Montreal Canadiens. I think, and this is going to sound crazy to some people, but there was a kid that they drafted 2 years ago who is a centerman who is playing in Michigan right now in college, who everybody in Montreal has said this guy's got future number one center material with him. His name's Michael Haig. He's playing for the University of Michigan. He's got 11 goals and 30 points in 22 games. I think that's the centerpiece of a trade for the Blues. Now, to make that work, we've said money in, money out, like my potential deal that you, because it's not just Haig. I think you're talking Haig. I think you're probably talking they've got a top right-handed defenseman in Reinbacher. They've got a kid who's playing over in the KHL who's a young Russian forward that says that's got a lot of upside. I think you're talking that, the equivalent of 3 of their top prospects, and then to make the money in, money out work, you'd probably have to take on Patrick Laine. So you're getting Laine for Thomas, and then you're getting 3 top prospects. That, in my mind, is like, okay, that might make more sense to the Blues mindset of getting a younger player who's in college, who's going to be in the NHL most likely next year, who projects to be that, but he's 19 years old. And now he's in the same line of thinking with Dvorsky, with Snuggerud, with Stenberg, with the potential top 3 pick. Now I've got a core that's 19 to 22 years old that I'm going to mold into what I need if I'm Alexander Steen.
It's a really interesting scenario for the Blues because they've got huge decisions to make, and I don't think they need to be done at the deadline. You've got probably 8 months to make these choices, and they're also making a transition in the front office. So yes, Doug Armstrong will be heavily involved in all of these decisions. So will Alexander Steen. So he's going to have his first opportunity, really, to have a significant imprint on what he wants the Alexander Steen St. Louis Blues to look like. Any move that exists with Robert Thomas or Braden Shin or Jordan Kyrou or Pavel Buchnevich, guys that are under contract for the longer term, they're all going to need, at a minimum, an okay from Alexander Steen in order to do so. We'll talk this over with Joey Vitale, Blues analyst for 101 ESPN and FanDuel Sports Midwest, when he stops by coming up in 15 minutes. But next, T-Bone was in attendance last night as our Missouri Tigers take down Auburn at home. What did T-Bone learn about
I saw
Mizzou
a picture of
last night?
him. He had a Mizzou black and gold on.
Did you?
Yeah,
No,
I saw
that's
it.
false.
Wow.
He was waving a
That's
flag,
false.
too.
Did he have the old school retro sailor tiger on it?
Oh, yeah.
That's
I
AI.
love
He's
that.
waving it.
Did he go cap or
No.
a beanie last night? Beanie.
Come on, look at T-Bone.
It was a little chilly.
T-Bone's a
very
beanie
cold.
type of guy. He's a beanie type of guy.
I heard he actually went on the quad and was carrying the flag through the
All right,
columns
let's not
last
be
night.
He tried to create a rally to where everyone was going to go to Auburn and steal their mascot.
Look, listen.
He started an MIZ chant as that was taking place.
And then he told
After
everybody, Hooters afterwards.
After I cashed out on my bet of Mizzou winning and knowing that the under wasn't going to hit, I then put some money down on Auburn to win and became a
Tigers
Auburn Tigers
guy.
fan for the final 5 minutes.
We'll talk Mizzou next year on 101 ESPN.
And that will do.
I mean, there have been lower level conversations about.
And that will do it from Columbia. Jaden Stone blows a kiss with the exclamation point. A signature home win for the Missouri Tigers.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, thought we were going to listen to Darren Drager once again.
I'm here
telling
for more
us about
Blues talk.
Mizzou basketball. I was a little confused there for a second.
Probably a Tigers fan.
Audio courtesy of ESPN as the Tigers last night of the University of Missouri take down the other Tigers from down in Auburn. T-Bone in attendance last night, waving his black and
Cut
gold
the nets down.
Proud of him for getting out to
Way to
Columbia.
go, T-Bone. We always knew you were a Tiger fan.
Mizzou wins 84-74 at home. That's not a very good Auburn Tigers team.
No.
No.
They really miss the head coach that bailed on them prior to the start of the season, putting his son in charge. Maybe we should have known at that point in time things were not going to go well down on the plains.
Not a great look, by the way, for his boy taking over the roster that his dad brought in.
Yeah, put your son in a really bad spot there.
Yeah, Stephen Pearl, not exactly Bruce Pearl. That being said,
Close enough.
That was a game Mizzou needed last night. And no, Auburn is not what they were a year ago, but they're not terrible. This is not a horrific Auburn basketball team. Their losses this season have come against the teams ranked currently in KenPom. Number 7, number 1, number 2, number 4, Mizzou, and then Georgia, which is 32, and Texas A&M, which is 42. They've mostly taken care of business, and they do have wins against both St. John's and NC State, both of whom are in the top 25 in KenPom. Also Arkansas by 22, a team that is also in the top 25 in KenPom. Good offense, really bad defensively. Alex, I think Mizzou right now, after getting Trent Pierce and Jaden Stone back into the mix, and I underestimated how important both of those players are as part of the rotation, I think this looks like a tournament team to me. Part of that is because the SEC is just not all that good this year, and part of it is because they've taken care of business. They're 3-1. They are currently tied atop the SEC standings.
Okay.
I can't believe we're saying that, but I mean, it's the truth.
Does that say more about Mizzou or more about the SEC?
Yes.
SEC.
Okay, good. I was going to say, because I haven't seen a whole lot of Mizzou basketball games, but I've watched a couple, and the couple that I've watched, they're good. I never would have sat there and said, that's the best team in the SEC.
No, and they're not. They won't stay up at the top of the SEC. They're not that good. But you look at their schedule coming up. I mean, they're about to play LSU this weekend. LSU's not very good. It's on the road, so I think Missouri will probably lose. It's hard to win on the road in the SEC this year. But really, all they have to do is take care of business at home the rest of the way. And you're looking at a likely tournament team at this point in time. Those games at home include bouts against Georgia, not great, but solid, good offense, really good offense. Oklahoma, Mississippi State, who is awful. Texas, who's solid. Vandy, that one's going to be tough. Tennessee, we'll see. And Arkansas, a game that is probably a 50-50 coin flip at the end of the season. You win 5 of those 7, get a couple of wins on the road, boom, you're a tournament team. That's all it takes. The bar is just not that high to clear. I didn't think they were going to be able to clear it after what we saw from them against Kansas and Illinois, really the only 2 legitimate threats that they played in the non-conference slate. But what they've done so far this year in the SEC has opened my eyes to them as a potential tournament team, Alex.
Well, we were talking in the office about, the top players that they have, and they have some really good ones. They just don't have depth, and I don't know how much that's going to affect you. At some point, I feel like that is going to showcase some warts, but the big thing is just the SEC, and I think in years past, it's been, man, look at the SEC in terms of college basketball and the top-level competition. You're nowhere near it. It doesn't feel that way this year. So, yeah, I mean, look, I was very skeptical of Mizzou early on with watching them lose some of those games or not blow out their competition. That was just night and day different than them in terms of the competition level. But now when you're talking about a really close win against Florida, you go on the road against Kentucky. I know the Ole Miss one was a little bit of a blemish there, but I don't see how they're not a tournament team because everybody, it's just very murky in the SEC in terms of top to bottom. The bottom is really bad. Mizzou's not there. So, yeah, I'm kind of with you. They've got the top-level talent in terms of 3 or 4 of their top players, including Mark Mitchell, that I think can carry them at least to being one of those bubble teams.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of them right now, if I'm just being honest. Like, I've watched plenty of their games now at this point. I saw them in person last night, and I know they put up 84 points in the game against Auburn, but I still watch them and I go, okay, they've got some nice pieces to what you guys are saying there, to where they don't have a ton of depth, but they've got some nice pieces on the roster. But then I watch them play and I go, man, this doesn't feel like a tournament team with my eyes when I watch them play. But the SEC is down. They're taking care of business. They're doing their thing. They're winning games that maybe they, like Florida, for example, didn't think they had a chance against. So they added a nice win there. They took care of business. They beat Auburn. I still feel like there's going to be games where even at home they might have some blemishes on their resume to where it's going to be tough maybe for them as a bubble team. But I don't know, and I think it's partly because I just can remember the SEC from last year where it was like, dude, this is a gauntlet. This is ridiculous. There's like 12 teams in this conference that could win the national title. And this year I look at it and go, man, the SEC's down. And maybe that's what helps Missouri here is the fact that I think this conference is down. And to be fair, I think a lot of the conferences are down a little bit this year. Big East seems like it's down. The Big Ten's very good at the top, but that middle is not that pretty. Maybe that's part of why I look at this Missouri team and go, man, the eye test tells me I'm not sure they are a tournament team. But if they're able to just take care of business, they're going to get the benefit of the doubt from the SEC that they're in this conference. And because it is having a down year, you finish like top 7, you're probably in.
Yeah, the other thing about this team and their turnaround, it's defense-oriented. I think that's part of what you're thinking about there, T-Bone. This is not a team under Dennis Gates that has been particularly good defensively. And yet, in SEC play, they're number 2 in defensive efficiency.
Wow.
So it's not actually the offense that has taken off. They're playing slower. They're much better defensively than they were previously. It seems like that little mini bye week that they had between the Illinois game and the start of the SEC slate, where they were basically off the entire Christmas holiday through the new year, my guess is they switched things up defensively. And they got back on track on that side of the ball, and they said, this is what we're going to have to prioritize because we don't have the horses to be the kind of offense that we have been in the Dennis Gates era. We are going to have to win with defense. Yeah. And if you guys can do that, we can make it to the tournament. It appears that Mizzou has bought in, and as a team that buys in on that side of things, they can make it to the tournament. Mark Mitchell's really good. Anthony Robinson has been really solid for them. And then they've got basically 2 other dudes. Trent Pierce, who was hurt, and Jaden Stone, who was hurt. Both of them have been fantastic since coming back from injuries, and that's a big part of what has improved their defense as well. They just have more size and length than what they had in the non-conference slate when they were without those 2 guys.
Yeah, and they feel less aggressive defensively. I think that's the big. I know they forced in that contest last night 11 turnovers. Some of those I don't even think were necessarily they forced the turnover. It was a Auburn mistake. Because I remember watching, I don't remember which game it was. It might have been the non-con loss to, was it Notre Dame maybe? Where like they were up by like only down by 1 or up by 1, and they like are blitzing the ball when it gets past half court. It's like, why are we not just like getting in our defensive stance and just trying to stop this instead of going for the turnover? They feel less aggressive, which means they're not out of position as much as well. And that could be what you're talking about, the change that they've made schematically defensively.
Illinois with another good win last night. T-Bone, your squad's really good. We don't have to spend too much time on
your squad
them.
anymore, man.
In that top of the Big Ten.
You were at the Illinois game yesterday, right?
Another really good team locally is SLU, and they won last night against Fordham as expected. Nobody thought that was going to go any differently. They won by 20. T-Bone, you mentioned before the show today, though, there is one other piece of news on the SLU front that is worth noting. What happened with SLU last night that was separate from their game against Fordham?
Yeah, so the good news for them last night, we talked about this when they beat VCU. Hey, that's their one opportunity for a quad 1 win. Well, they got good news last night because someone that they had beat earlier in the conference schedule, or non-con schedule, excuse me, at a neutral site in Santa Clara, who's in the WCC, the same conference as Gonzaga. Whatever they did last night bumped them up to becoming a quad 1 team. So now SLU has 2 quad 1 wins on their resume because Santa Clara has been able to bump themselves up because they've been playing some good basketball. that helps go towards the potential if you need it. The hope is you don't need it. You win the A10 tournament, you don't have to worry about this. But this is something that you look back if you're SLU and go, okay, good. That is very helpful for us if we were to lose like in the A10 championship game. This helps our at-large bid potentially.
Yeah, Santa Clara last night took down the Fighting Pacific basketball team.
Oh, no wonder why they're now a
So
quad
now it
one
makes sense why they were quad one.
Pacific, which is 12-8 on the year and 3-4 in the WCC.
Was it a road game?
It was a home game for Santa Clara last night. So that's how they bumped into that quad one.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say, like, by Saturday, they may not be.
You think that's not going to be there anymore?
Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb and say maybe.
SLU's a deserving at-large bid team at this point. They're 31 in Ken Palm. They're a legit top 30-ish team in the country. If they were ranked in the top 25 today, I wouldn't push back one bit.
No.
They are that good, and I think they might be able to get in because of the down nature in both the SEC and the Big Ten this year, combined with their scheduling in the non-conference slate and their ability to take care of business thus far. If they keep doing that, that's a team that could get in potentially as the second bid, even if they don't end up winning their conference tournament this time around.
Since we're talking local schools, Lindenwood Lions tied for second place in the Ohio Valley Conference.
He's
like
Alex T-Bone on BK.
No,
Questions and
4-2
answers
in
in
conference
15
play, you
minutes.
jerk.
Joey Vitale joins us next year on 101 ESPN. Divisional round weekend is right around the corner, and you know I'm going to be playing over on the Underdog app, Alex. I download it today. Use our promo code BKO. Do us a favor. Use the promo code BKO whenever you sign up. If you haven't done so yet, What are you waiting for? Alex will tell you about the bonus bets that you can get. For me this weekend, I got Josh Allen going higher on his rushing yardage total. I've got Juwan Jennings going higher on his receiving yardage. And I like Ramondre Stevenson. Rushing yardage total only at 39.5 in this game, Alex. I'm going to go higher on that one as well. Put them all together. 3 different plays. $5 could win you $40 with a profit boost over on the Underdog app.
There's so much action this weekend, so what are you waiting for? Download the Underdog app today, and as BK mentioned, use that promo code BKO. If you don't, we're going to find you, and we're going to find out why. BKO. Score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code BKO. Underdog. Make plays. Win money. Must be 18 plus and present in Missouri. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org.
Taylor Hendricks here, the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Blues will be back in action tomorrow night when they host the Tampa Bay Lightning. We'll have pregame coverage tomorrow starting at 6 o'clock with Alex Ferrario. Puck drop at 7 o'clock with Chris Garber and Joey Vitale. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It is BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Some good news from Jeremy Rutherford over on Twitter. Philip Broberg back on the ice today, hoping that he can get back into the lineup on Friday as the Blues take on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Joey Vitale will be a part of that call. He joins us now via the Callier and Thompson hotline. Joe, appreciate the time as always. How you doing today?
Joey! Joe, tell you so
What's up, boys? What's up?
How's your voice, Joey V?
Doing good.
You
Doing good.
You and Curbs, I had to drag you guys to the finish line the other night. You and Curbs were struggle busting it.
Alex, honestly, without you, there's millions of listeners on 101 ESPN wouldn't have gotten the Blues broadcast. So thank you for subbing in for Curbs. It's different things. Like his voice is just going.
Yeah.
Mine is just, I can't clear it. So it's been going on for a little while. Our pipes are feeling it here a little bit. It's that time of the year, but hey, listen, we're hockey guys. We're going to be just fine.
Hell yeah, you guys grind through that dry desert air, then you come back, you did an incredible job on that Hall of Fame ceremony with Curbs. It makes sense that you guys are struggling busting it, but you mentioned you're hockey guys, you power through.
And coming up next, we have a West Canadian trip, Joe, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, but they're all like 7 o'clock puck drops local time, Joe, so you're good, man.
Yeah, we're gonna make it. We're gonna be all right. It's actually a pretty favorable one. But however, Alex, I be ready in the saddle. The rumors, I'm a big rumor guy. The rumor is that the Blues have solved their second period woes, and I think it's because Alex Ferrara on the broadcast set for the second period. So we may be calling you in from this game moving forward for the second period.
Going to say, does that mean I'm headed to Western Canada with you? Because I probably need to let my wife and my 3 daughters know.
No, you can do it from the basement.
No, nobody needs that. I'll take one for the team, Joe. I'll travel with you guys to Edmonton. I'll travel to Winnipeg. I'll sleep in the lobby. I don't need to worry about a room.
Welcome to Welcome to the broadcast world. Kiss your wife and kids goodbye. Say, I'm going to see you in May. And you know what? That's really all it's going to be because this team needs you, Alex.
West Coast trip with Joe Vitale. I'm not complaining, nor will they.
All right, Joe.
Buddy, you will be in bed by 9 o'clock on off days.
9 o'clock's too late.
Wake up at 5 a.m. We're going to have our coffee by 6 a.m. You'll get used to my road life with me is a lot different than most you're probably imagining. We're in bed by 9 on the off days.
Yeah, people hear that and be like, oh, man, that sounds crazy. That sounds ideal to me. Road life with Joe and Alex is bed by 8 o'clock.
It's very different than road life with T-Bone and BK.
Yeah, that's like road life with Curbs.
Guys, totally different, but it just goes. It's the old hedonic treadmill. Have you guys heard of that? It's like, you think you want certain things, and your high is never as high as you think, and the lows are never as low as you think, and you have all these expectations and visions. It's funny. We're on the road, and it's this time of the year, and then we'll have some sponsors or some guys from the Blues office come with us. They're like, hey, let's throw a pump Dylan. What are we doing tonight? I'm like, whoa, calm down, Speed Racer. Like, this guy's in bed by 9. And it reminds me of when I went to Disney World and I stayed at the Animal Kingdom. You guys ever stayed at the Animal Kingdom, BK? Alex, you had to have.
Yeah, I think we both have.
No, I haven't yet.
It.
That's the one that we're gonna
my favorite one.
We're gonna pay up and do it this next time we go because we think the girls would love it.
I stayed at the safari outside of Animal Kingdom, and you're living there, and the kids get all geeked up. You walk in the room, and they're like, "Oh my God, Dad! There's a freaking giraffe outside of our balcony chewing on grape leaves." You're like, "Oh baby, honey, get the camera!" You're so pumped up for day 1, and then by day 3, you're like, hey, honey, the giraffe is back. It's like no big deal at all. Like, who cares? It's like that's so it is with the road of the NHL broadcaster lifestyle.
Yeah, it's. I'm really surprised you're not going to be taking advantage of the thriving metropolis that is Edmonton or Winnipeg and the nightlife scene that exists in both of those beautiful cities.
Here's how the conversation goes. Joe, you want to go out and drink? No, I want to go back to bed.
No.
Joe, it's 7 o'clock. Yeah. There's a good documentary on that I'm going to watch and probably fall asleep by 8:15.
I got a date with my pillow and blanket and my warm, cozy bed at 7 o'clock, and that's how it's going to be.
My man.
All right, Joe, let's get to a couple of hockey things before we get you out of here. We started the show today. There are some reports. I know how much you love these.
Love the rumors.
It's the best. Apparently, Robert Thomas's name is out there. What do you think of the possibility of him becoming available? I'm not asking you to speculate on like the likelihood of him being traded, but as a player, as an asset, how do you feel about him if he were to be made available?
You know what? It was when Ryan O'Reilly got traded a few years ago, BK. It was the very next day I came to the Enterprise Center. I can't remember who we were playing. Al McGinnis was walking down the hallway towards me, and we stopped each other in the hallway, and I said, geez, what do you think of that one? And Al kind of had his hands in his pocket, and he said, Joe, someone once told me if Wayne Gretzky can get traded, everyone can be traded, or everyone is expendable, something along those lines. And he's absolutely right? Ryan O'Reilly, your captain, Conn Smythe winner, you win the Stanley Cup. And if he can get dealt out of St. Louis, anyone can get dealt out of St. Louis. So to answer that question, yes, I think it's completely acceptable. I think it's okay. And it doesn't surprise me. And it should never surprise you. It should never surprise anyone that people can be dealt out of here because that is the game. Wayne Gretzky got shifted from Edmonton to L.A. The unthinkable happened with the greatest hockey player ever to win. So, of course, this can happen. Of course, one day it will happen unless he signs as a free agent somewhere else. But that is the nature of the game. That's the nature of the beast. It's unfortunate that these names are kind of being swirled around like Robert Thomas because of how much of an impact he can make to this organization. But with the team at the state of where they're at, like I said, everyone's name is open. Everyone is available at this point because now Doug Armstrong and Alexander Steen, guess what? They have a job to do too. And they have to figure out, is this the team that they're going to stick with moving forward? Is this the group of guys? Is this the core that is going to get the job done? And if not this year, can you see them in 2-3 years really creating something? They got to get their crystal ball out. They got to get ahead in the future now. They got to look and say, in 2 or 3 years, who is going to be that core group? And you know what? If they feel like if one of these players is not it, yeah, you have to entertain any and all possibilities at this point.
Joe, you know Alexander Steen fairly well from being around this team for the last 8 years. How much of a challenge do you think this is going to be for him to try and navigate this team through whatever they're going through?
It's going to be a challenge. I think it's always a challenge. Let me start there. It's a hard job. There's not many that can do it very well. That's number one. The thing that's interesting for Steiner is that I think the challenge that he thought he was heading into next year, let's call it back in August, it's a very different challenge than it is now. So the challenge with August 1 or the start of the 2025 season, when he rallied that group, you just came off a playoff loss, a long summer, he knew there was going to be certain challenges. The challenges now are very different. I don't think he was dealing with challenges of, is this actually a part of our core group? I don't think he was thinking that in August. I thought he was already like, okay, this is our core group. Now how do we build around? I think they were smaller challenges. I think now you have to be realistic about what he is facing, and that is one of, what does our core look like? Is this our complete core? If you're looking at the top 4 pieces, are 3 out of the 4 the right core? Are 2 out of the 4 the right core? Or are all 4 the right, and we just don't have the complementary pieces? But those are big issues. Those are big challenges, if you will, that Steiner has to now face because they're very different, Alex, from when they started the season.
He's Joey Vitale. You'll hear him on the call on Friday night as the Blues take on the Tampa Bay Lightning at home here in St. Louis. Their last home game for a little more than a week as they get ready to head on a road trip. Joe, appreciate the time as always, man. We'll talk with you again next week.
Thanks, boys. You guys have a great week.
See you, Joey. That's Joey Vitale. Appreciate his time as always here on BK and Ferrario.
I don't know if I could think of a better week than a road trip with Joe.
It'd be good.
Just hockey and going to bed by 8 o'clock.
It's the ideal life for Alex Ferrario.
Also Italian, like fine Italian dining, because Joey always sniffs out the greatest spots wherever he's at. So hockey, can't beat that. Fine Italian dining, in bed by 8 o'clock. Coffee at 5 a.m. with Joe.
They have Olive
All
Garden
of
in
that,
Edmonton?
honestly, sounds
Love Olive Garden, but you stop it.
pretty awful to me.
You're crazy.
I
you want to go
enjoy-
out for a night on the town in Winnipeg?
Sure.
Yeah.
There's got to be at least a good
Me and
Absolutely
T-Bone have
not.
the same idea of what
Absolutely
it's like
not.
to travel, honestly.
Yeah,
It's-
well-
T-Bone is like my ideal travel
You
partner.
and T-Bone have
T-Bone last night went to Columbia, went to the restaurant that I recommended, and had a good beer
Hooters.
because of it.
I heard it was great. You and
Flatbread.
T-Bone have a combined 1 child.
That is accurate. And you and Joey have a combined 27.
7. I'm sorry, a combined 8. 9 if you consider my puppy. 55 if you consider the amount of chickens he has at his house.
Questions and answers coming up next. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. Can I ask you guys a question first before we get to some of these from the text line?
Sure.
We were just talking about road trips, all this different stuff. And Alex, you mentioned it. I bet you probably go out the first night and you're like, what am I doing?
I'd have ants in my pants immediately being like, I got to go out with these guys. I can't pass this up.
If you could, like if it was auctioned off, you get a road trip with Joey and Curbs and the rest of the Blues broadcast crew, right?
Oh, my God.
And you get to choose. It's one game. You get to go to one city, and you get to go out with them afterwards. Like, what would be the city that you would choose?
Well, I have to be a city that I'm okay being buried at because I would die that one night out if it's the entire crew. Mine would probably be Vegas. That'd be the place that I want to go.
I think New York. That would be it for me.
I think it would be fun in Vegas with those guys.
I would, you know what? I was thinking Vegas, but I've
in
done
March.
Vegas. I would want to go somewhere new. So, like New York would be a good one. Tampa Bay, Florida, one of those would be good for me as well.
Miami would be a good one.
There's something that happens to me when I get to Vegas. Like all other cities, I'm fine going to bed.
That's interesting.
When I get to Vegas, man, I can't. It's impossible to go to sleep prior to midnight.
Are you a big gambler? Like, what is it about
I like
Vegas
to gamble.
that gets it?
I'm not a big gambler. I like to gamble. I actually, this is going to sound crazy, I like just walking the strip and going in and out of the casinos and seeing what they have.
That's part of Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, I like to play blackjack. I'll walk up to slot machines and play them. I'm not the guy that's going to sit at a table until 2 o'clock in the morning and play. I'll sit, I'll play, and then I'm like, cool, let's move on to the next one. I like going to see some of the shows that are there.
Sure.
I like just walking through the casino and just people watching.
It's like an amusement park for you.
Yeah, it's people watching. I could sit on a bench on the strip in March in Vegas for 6 hours and then be entertained. And that would, to me, you know, Joey and them always find the greatest dining spots. I think you'd have some incredible places to eat in Vegas. You'd get some pretty entertaining stories. Vegas would be the one for me.
All right, 314-399-9646.
You didn't answer. What was yours?
New York.
New York.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Did
my
you
favorite
answer? I
city
wasn't
I've ever been
listening.
to.
Yeah.
Sorry.
New York is my number one destination. I absolutely fell in love when we went there. So if Mexico City had a team, I would definitely be down to go to Mexico
I'm going
City
to go
again.
out on a limb here and say we're not going to see a hockey team in Mexico City.
Probably not.
I'm going to go on and say that's a good guess.
Maybe the next stadium series will get out of Mexico City.
From the 314, do you think Dante Moore returning to Oregon is worth the risk of passing up on being a top 10 overall selection? We saw this happen with Drew Aller, Garrett Nussmeier, and Cade Klubnik. Plus, next year's class should be loaded with quarterbacks. I think this is a really fascinating discussion, and we'll get into it far more coming up in the 12 o'clock hour. But is it worth the risk? I guess it depends. Do you just want to be a higher draft selection, or do you want to give yourself the best chance possible of having success at the NFL level? Because those might be different questions to answer. I think he'll probably be selected later next year than he would have been in this year's
That's what I was
draft.
going to say. Are you going to be a higher selection?
No, I'm saying this year would be
okay.
the better opportunity to go higher in the draft because there are fewer high-level quarterbacks in this year's draft. So by virtue of the lack of supply and the continuous demand for quarterbacks, you probably rise up the board. I don't think he's ready for the NFL, though. So if you think that going back to school and having another year of experience at this level will make you a better NFL quarterback, from that perspective, I agree with his assessment, and I do think it's the right choice.
I think it's probably the right choice nowadays, especially because you can get a good penny while going back to school, right? Like Dante Moore didn't just go back to Oregon on like a bargain bin deal because they'd already signed Dylan Raiola. He's probably getting about $3 to $5 million this year, which makes it a little easier to kind of stomach and hopefully get ready for the NFL for next year. So I would say right now he probably made the right choice because he's still getting some money at least to help him out till he can potentially go to the NFL. You are probably right, though. He probably is not getting selected as high next year unless he has an awesome year, which is totally possible. I don't know how much more ready he's going to get, though, with one more extra year at Oregon.
I think I would have just gone. I think I would have gone in young with a second overall pick to get a lot of money, but also go to a team that knows I'm somewhat of a project and I get some runway to work with. I'm with T-Bone. I don't know if one more year is going to make that much of a difference instead of your draft stock dropping.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. From the 314, guys, which team do you think has a better farm system right now, the Blues or the Cardinals? Say the Cardinals. More guys have graduated from the Blue system.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I would have to go with the Cardinals. I mean, it's pretty close, though, because I think what they have in Yurichek and Carbonneau is pretty special. And then after this season, you're going to get a top 3 pick. That's going to be borderline elite.
I think the Cardinals are just a year ahead because they've already done their sell-off, whereas the Blues may be coming very soon. So after the Blues sell off some of their assets, it very well could be the Blues by this time next year.
If they sell off Donovan, I think it's night and day Cardinals. Prior to Donovan being sold off, I think it's pretty even, but I'd give the slight edge to the Cardinals.
Yeah, I guess I would give slight edge to the Cardinals because I think they've at least got potentially, maybe not the star in Weatherhold, but they might potentially have the ace, which is kind of the equivalent of developing a star. And I'm still skeptical on Juracek and Carbonneau being those guys for the Blues.
It's 12:01. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll get into some NFL quick hitters, including the first head coach domino to fall. John Harbaugh expected to be the next head coach of the New York Giants. What do we think of the move from both perspectives, the team and the coach? We'll get into that in 15 minutes. Nolan Arenado spoke to the media yesterday for the first time since being traded to the Arizona Diamondbacks. He said something that opened up all of our eyes in a good way. We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN. Today is the start of the international signing period for 2026. The Cardinals had already been connected to a number of players. This is one of those things where, like, today's the day that it officially begins, kind of like the day that free agency officially begins in the NBA, where 12:01 hits and suddenly guys are signing deals. It's like, wait, that got negotiated in the last minute? That's crazy. There's a lot of tampering that takes place in these deals. The Cardinals had been connected to a kid by the name of Emmanuel Luna for a long time now. It was always expected that they were going to sign him. That deal has now been made official, according to MLB Pipeline. Emmanuel Luna, a 17-year-old outfield prospect from the Dominican, the number 8 international free agent this offseason, signed with the Cardinals for a $2.3 million signing bonus. A big-time signing by the St. Louis Cardinals. They also signed another kid out of the Dominican as well, Carlos Carrion, a shortstop from the Dominican.
Shortstop.
$1.1 million signing bonus for him as well. There are others, but those are kind of the two big signings so far. All right, Alex, other Cardinals news. We mentioned it yesterday, talked about it plenty. If you missed our full thoughts on the Nolan Arenado trade, check that out on the podcast page, 101ESPN.com. The free 101 ESPN app is where you go to find it. That's all sponsored by
Jay Verdor Company.
Arenado spoke to the media yesterday for the first time since being traded to Arizona. Thought he had some interesting comments on why his time in St. Louis came to an end. Take a listen.
You know, obviously when I opted in St. Louis, I thought this would be a place where I would end my career. But, you know, it's baseball and things change very fast. And the scene where we were headed as the years gone on, the past few years, it was very evident that there's a step that they need to take in letting these young guys go and finding out who they are and who their identity is. And I think I'm just kind of in the way of that in a sense. And I kind of always felt like that last year. You know, you just move on, and I'm excited for the new opportunity. It feels like a fresh start, and I just got to go out there and compete.
Couple of things on this for me. One, I appreciate the self-awareness. He's right. He's 100% correct. He was in the way. We felt that way. I'm sure he felt that way, clearly. The Cardinals probably felt that way. He was away from the team for a decent amount of time at the end of the season because of that shoulder issue. He's 100% correct. 2, and maybe this is more important, Alex, I wonder how that will play into the clubhouse dynamics this year. Not the Arenado comments there, but the fact that he's gone and the fact that there are no more of those guys that are... There almost felt as though there were 2 different poles for the team last year going into the season, where one was you still have Contreras, you still have Arenado, you still have Sonny Gray, you still have Miles Michaelis, you still have Eric Fetty, and these are veterans that are trying to win right now. And you still have John Mozeliak, who's on the way out, who would love nothing more than to go out a winner. But on the other hand, you've got all these young guys that are just trying to find their way in the major leagues. And the best thing for them might be less pressurized situations. And you have these 2 ideas that are pulling in almost opposite directions, and now that is gone. There is no other side of things here. There's just, this year is about development. It's about getting as good as you can get for these young players such as Ivan Herrera, Alec Burleson, Mason Wynn, Nolan Gorman, etc. And I wonder, I don't know how much tangible upside there is to this, but I wonder if that helps to unlock something within some of these players.
It should. That's the whole point of this rebuild. That's the whole point of teams when they go into a rebuild. You cut away from what was there and allow your younger players to figure out that mindset. Like, just one more note on Nolan Arenado. I respect the hell out of that individual for understanding it. Like, how many times in our lives have we had something to where it feels like you're just getting in the way, but you power through it because you want to be a part of it? And for Nolan Arenado, he saw it and decided to opt out. And I saw the comments. He was very appreciative of Hein Bloom. We saw his social media post out there. But to the younger guys, there's always this safety net when you have those veterans around, to where you don't have to take on that role, that responsibility, because if things are going poorly, you can hide behind Nolan Arenado, Wilson Contreras, those veterans. It's not the case anymore. If Brendan Donovan gets moved, the young guys are the faces of the team. Now, that can be a bad thing, and that can be a very good thing. Like Joey has talked about this a lot in hockey. Once you get the stink of losing in a locker room, and you can't get that out, that takes a very long time. And look at what the Arizona Coyotes were for the longest time. That's the scary part of it. But if you get guys that have the mental strength, like what Brendan Donovan has, like what we think Mason Wynn has, now you've got a new core of players with Wynn, with Herrera, with Alec Burleson, with J.J. Weatherholt when he gets up here. The onus is on you. You now are the guys that answer to the struggles that are taking place. And if you do it the right way, you could build yourself into a strong leader that can usher in a new era of the Cardinals. But it's all on those guys to take it. And I do think there's a sense of getting rid of that veteran presence of Arenado and Goldschmidt and what Contreras was. Prior to that, what Yadier Molina and Adam Wainwright was. There's no more hiding behind those guys. Now the younger players have to take on that leadership role.
Yeah, I don't think it has much tangibles for what some of these guys will do on the field. I do find it interesting to see who will emerge, though, as who becomes kind of that locker room voice for the St. Louis Cardinals. Again, I don't take too much into that stuff, but I do find it interesting to see who does kind of emerge as who's going to be the guy that will talk to the media, because you're right, it will not be fun conversations with the media while you're going through a rebuild. In fact, it will probably be a lot of monotonous questions that you end up getting throughout the season. But to your guys' point, like, all those guys are gone. And now Brendan Donovan, who had kind of emerged as that guy of, hey, he is going to be kind of the go-to guy in the clubhouse. Okay, well, what happens if he's gone? Like, who is taking on that role? And it's almost got to be a guy that performs, right? It's got to be a Mason Wynn who is a Gold Glove shortstop, or an Alec Burleson who produces, or Navan Herrera who does it, because this isn't a shot towards Jordan Walker. It's hard for Walker to emerge as the leader because he hasn't performed yet on the field. Now, he can get there, right? He can become that by July. If he's having a really good year, then he can be kind of one of those guys and say, hey, here's what I've learned through my struggles, when he has conversations with the J.J. Weatherholt. But it'll be interesting to see, because most of these guys that we've talked about have had success at the big leagues, and that's how you can kind of mold into becoming that go-to guy for people. Who's that guy that these guys are going to turn to this year? That's where it will be interesting to see.
And to me, it's almost less about the leadership component of this and more about the on-field part of it, of just like guys being able to go out there and not walk on eggshells and not feel as though they're in situations that they shouldn't be. I do think there have been times in the past where it almost feels like there's pulls in different directions within the clubhouse. And now that's not the case anymore. So I'll be very curious to see how this plays out. They're probably not going to be a good baseball team this year, so I don't know if we'll really be able to learn much about it. But I wonder how that plays into potential performance on the field. The other thing that I wanted to ask you about, and Brendan Donovan, you guys brought him up, because if there's anybody inside of this clubhouse that's going to be the leader next year, I think it's the guy that already was probably the leader of the team, and that's Brendan Donovan. It's possible he's traded, and then he would no longer be considered the leader in the clubhouse. I'm just going to go ahead and ask this, because we've talked enough about Donnie, trade, value, all of these different things. We're now getting late enough into the offseason that I wonder, what if the Cardinals just say, you know what? We're not doing it. The trades that we think are out there, they're not out there. And I asked this of Derek Gould yesterday. If you don't trade him, don't you have to extend him? So let's go down this path real quick, Alex. How would you feel as a Cardinals fan if, let's say it's Thursday, so tomorrow, prior to winter warmup, hell, Saturday morning prior to winter warmup, it is announced Cardinals sign Brendan Donovan to a 5-year, $75-ish million contract extension. How do you feel?
I'll be on the air Monday morning saying that the Cardinals made a mistake. And this has nothing to do with Brendan Donovan. I think he's an incredible player, and it's the type of leader you'd want around your team. In no way do I believe that the Cardinals are able to get this thing back on the tracks and put themselves in a position where Brendan Donovan makes sense for this team. I think you're 3+ years away from getting into that contention window, and Brendan Donovan's not going to be that player for you at that time. Maybe he's still a good complementary piece, but I think what you can get in return, at least from what we've heard, is you can get multiple pieces that help your team moving forward. And my reaction to it is going to be, did you pull him off the table because you weren't happy with what the return was, or did you pull him off the table because teams weren't meeting the ask? And it's hard for me to believe the latter. I think if they pulled Brendan Donovan off the table, they got too over-exaggerated on what they thought the return would be, and didn't live in a reality to what they knew what Brendan Donovan was. He's not a star. He's not going to bring you back a star's return. He's going to bring you back a super utility all-star type of player return. So I'm going to think that's a mistake. I think the Cardinals have to move on from him for the sake of this rebuild that they're trying to make quick.
Yeah, I think it's a mistake as well because he doesn't fit into your timeline for when you're going to be winning again. You know, if it is 3 to 5 years till your next winning window, at that point, he may no longer be in his prime. Who knows what he looks like as a player? I don't think he'd be like an awful player. Like, I don't think he'll just fall off of a cliff, but he may not still be the same guy that we see here. I think you have to capitalize on it while he is still a hot commodity. And I understand, yes, the trade has not been made. I still think they're going to get a very good return for Brendan Donovan. He just doesn't line up in the time frame because of his age. And I think if you're the Cardinals, you need to capitalize on this opportunity while you have it in front of you.
I'd be cool with them extending him. I think they should trade him, but I would understand it. And to me, the thought process in this scenario would be, honestly, I think it would be, if you're a Cardinals fan, it would be a sign that, okay, this isn't going to take forever. Because if you're planning on keeping Brendan Donovan, you probably plan to win at some point within the next 3 years. And you plan to push, probably starting as soon as next season, where you're going to go out there and try to sign some free agents or make some trades from the depth that you've accumulated from your prospect pool to then reinforce the big league club. How realistic is that? I don't know. But them going out there and extending Brendan Donovan would suggest to me that's the plan. Otherwise, why are you doing it? I don't understand any other scenario other than they think this thing can get back on track sooner than the rest of us do. And that would be, to me, I've always said this about Brendan Donovan this offseason. He is the North Pole. He tells you what the team thinks with their actions, not their words, how long this is going to take. If they re-sign Brendan Donovan, they're going to try to win within the next 3 years, most likely. If they trade Brendan Donovan, they're not sure how long this is going to take, and it allows them an out of, all right, hopefully these prospects accelerate the process for us.
That's why, like you mentioned right there, like if they trade Donovan, they're going to say, oh, okay, we don't know how long this is going to take. I almost think you have to approach it that way because how often have we seen a highly touted prospect that organizations look at and say, okay, that guy might be the guy that we can like pinpoint as the focal point as to what can potentially end the rebuild, right? And then they flame out and it doesn't work and they go right back into the rebuild.
Mahomes Longbody on the text line says, why would they extend him though, BK? You personally told us that his value could be one of the top pitchers in all of baseball, so why would they extend him instead of the pitching prospects? Because they're happy with their pitching. That would be part of it. And two, that they need position players as well. And Brendan Donovan, for whatever you think about him, he's a good player. Like, I'm very certain that Brendan Donovan for the next few seasons at a minimum will be a good baseball player in the major leagues. And so if you are feeling as though you could be a good team sooner rather than later, it's not a bad thing to have Brendan Donovan. Now, I think it would be a huge mistake for them to decide not to trade Brendan Donovan and to just bring him back on his current deal. That, to me, I wouldn't understand that thought process at all. But if you choose not to trade him because there is not a top pitching prospect that's coming back, for whatever reason, other teams just didn't value him that way. Maybe Nico Horner jumped him on the market. Alec Boehm maybe jumps him on the market. And maybe there's somebody else out there in the middle infield market that ultimately sways teams' decisions and the Cardinals just can't get the return they were looking for. It's possible, I suppose. In that scenario, extend him. That's fine. It's not the worst thing in the world. I would also probably lean toward trading Brendan Donovan, but I can at least understand why you would decide to extend him because he's a good baseball player, guys, and you do need good players as a part of this rebuild. So if you have Brendan Donovan and J.J. Weatherholt and Mason Wynn and Ivan Herrera and Alec Burleson, you're starting to build. That's basically your infield. Now, you're not done. Your process would then turn to, man, we better get this outfield right. And we need a superstar. I don't know who that guy is, but maybe they plan on going out and acquiring one of those, either via trade or free agency, or they think somebody's coming through their pipeline that could be that, or they think this year's first-round pick could be it. I don't know. But that's why. If you want the thought process behind it, I would assume that's probably where they're coming from. So I'd be okay with it. The worst case scenario to me would be they don't trade him and they don't extend him. That part I can't get behind.
I hate contract extensions. Yeah. As we know, I never hand them out.
Especially for a team that's going into a rebuild. I just don't think that's smart.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there.
I think you've wiped the table clean in terms of contracts that linger As you're Chaim Bloom, you're essentially a fresh slate with this team. I don't think that fresh slate should start with giving a contract extension to a guy that by the end of it will be 33 when your team is hoping to compete.
Coming up in 15 minutes, is Indiana going to go down as an outlier or the start of something new in college football? We'll get into that coming up here in just a little bit. NFL quick hitters, including John Harbaugh's new stop next here on 101 ESPN. Let's dive into some NFL quick hitters with Alex and T-Bone. I'm BK. Let's start out with the big news from earlier today, Alex. I woke up, checked my phone, and John Harbaugh is suddenly the head coach of the New York Giants.
Good morning.
What do you think?
I think if I'm John Harbaugh, it's not my best case scenario if I want to win right away, but I also think it's the best case scenario if I'm John Harbaugh because the team has probably told me, hey, you do what you want. We're hands off. You take over.
Reportedly a 5-year, $100 million contract for John Harbaugh.
Good for John.
Yeah, Jesus. Good job to get paid, my man.
Reportedly has final decision on roster choices.
I think you're still going to be bad for at least a year, maybe 2, if you're John Harbaugh. And, I mean, honestly, though, of the teams that were available, you're probably in that scenario on all of them. So, again, it's probably the best team because they've essentially told him, you get to do what you want. Don't worry about the general manager. He's not in charge. You're in charge.
I think it's a pretty interesting fit. They've got a quarterback who is at least talented.
Might be broken by the end of this year.
No doubt. They have a really good number 1 receiver if he can get healthy in Malik Neighbors. They have an interesting running back if he can get healthy in Cam Scatterbo. They've got an unbelievable defensive line. He's apparently bringing Todd Monk in with him. I think that's a pretty good fit for what they do offensively and the type of talent that they have. If he can get a good defensive coordinator and they can figure out how to use a wildly talented defensive line, I think they could immediately be a top half of the league unit, at least on that side of the ball. I don't know what the ceiling is for this team. I think the Giants could make the playoffs next year.
Be like a 10-win team.
Yeah. I think they could have the kind of jump that we saw this year from, I don't know, the Denver Broncos. Not to the same degree, or like last year's Denver Broncos that got into the playoffs. You're like, okay, they're respectable again. I could see something like that from the Giants next year. Just well coached. You see the young talent take a step forward. I think there's an opening in the NFC right now for a team to do that.
Yeah, I get it a lot from the Giants' perspective because you needed someone that just came in and like immediately gave you credibility. And Harbaugh does that. And you know what? If that means Sheen's like his new buddy is his title instead of GM, that's fine. I think when you're Harbaugh, the reason that I find it interesting is my initial reaction is kind of what Alex said. Like, okay, you probably got to wait 2 years. Does he really want to do that because he is getting older in age? If you get a 5-year deal, he clearly still has the itch to do this for a while. And if you're him, you look at it and you go, what you just described. You got a bunch of interesting pieces, and maybe the most important part out of all of this, even if he doesn't even become a great quarterback, top 5 that you think you can win a Super Bowl with, you know what you can do when you got a rookie quarterback? You get the rookie quarterback contract, which is one of the best bargains in sports. So he can go out there and really invest in this football team when he needs to in whatever area he thinks he needs fit. If it's the offensive line, if it's, hey, maybe we need a second wide receiver. Maybe we do need to go upgrade like the secondary or a linebacker. You know what? He's going to have some decent money to play with because he's got a rookie quarterback contract. So even though you may look at it from the outside and say, boy, that may take 2 years before he really gets it going, I don't know. We've seen where rookie quarterback contracts help these teams really accelerate this thing and they can get going by year 1 or 2.
Look at the Patriots. Patriots, nobody thought was going to take this kind of a step.
Yep.
Now, Drake May, I think, is just a better quarterback than Jackson Dart, and that's a huge piece of it. Drake May is legitimately in the MVP conversation, and I don't foresee that for Jackson Dart, but...
So the Broncos kind of do this with Bo Nix.
Exactly. Bo Nix wasn't exactly a world beater. I still don't think he's a world beater. He's fine. He's a middle-of-the-pack NFL quarterback. I think Jackson Dart could be that.
Yeah.
What's the ceiling? 15th best quarterback in the league? If you've got a great defense, look at Denver. Look at the LA Chargers. Look at the Seattle. I don't think they have a top 10 quarterback in the league in Sam Darnold, but they've got a great defense, and that's good enough in the modern game. And if you put together that with a good running game, you can have a hell of a lot of success in the NFL. Look no further than the Baltimore Ravens up until this past year. He's not Lamar, but I think it's a pretty good landing spot, all things considered. I probably would have liked to have seen him take a year off, but if he was going to land somewhere, this is about as good as you could have expected.
Who's better next year, the Giants or the Ravens?
I think safe money's on the Ravens.
I don't think it's as different of a record as you think it might be.
I want to see who the Ravens hire as their head coach. I trust the infrastructure. Lamar Jackson, for all of my issues with him as a playoff quarterback, when he's healthy in the regular season, big if there. They're an excellent football team.
Yeah, I think you said it right, though. I think safe money is to say Baltimore. But, man, if you're willing to risk it for the biscuit, I would be willing to bet Giants.
Always risk it for the biscuit.
It'd be a fun one to have on a sports betting app.
Yeah, because I think
more wins, Baltimore versus New York. Wonder what the odds would be.
And like
we should throw that at Underdog. Yeah. Maybe they'll like our idea.
The NFC's much more open and a little bit easier potentially than the AFC because I assume Mahomes and the Chiefs will figure things out. Burrow's always a tough contested in the AFC, and then you've got Josh Allen there as well. Like, there's a lot more places to find wins in the NFC than the AFC.
So I did want to also get to this. ESPN's Adam Schefter was on a radio show today out in Boston. He does a weekly show with WEEI, and he said he does not expect Nico Collins to play on Sunday against the New England Patriots. Talked about this briefly yesterday. Now it's looking more and more likely that Nico will be out. How does that impact your view of this game between the Pats and the Texans?
Doesn't change it. I'm not going to take the Texans straight up, but I'll take the Texans and the points.
Plus 3.5?
Yeah. I think there's a real chance they win, but that game to me, because of their defense, is going to be a 1 or 2 point game. So.
Am I overreacting to this? Because I was on the Texans. I thought that the Texans would win this game. And Nico, to me, is the kind of player that does change the outlook for your offense. I think he's that talented. I know they were able to do it last week without him. I think this is a very different test against the Patriots than it was against the Pittsburgh Steelers, personally. T-Bone, am I overreacting to this news by switching my pick from the Texans in a close game to the Patriots, potentially?
I don't think so, because I would ask this question. When you look on those teams' offensive sides of the ball, New England and Houston, who is the best non-quarterback on the offensive side of the ball between those two teams? It's Nico Collins. And if you don't have
between
him,
the Texans, are you talking about on offense?
Just on offense.
Okay.
Between Houston and New England.
I could name off 5 defenders in this
No, that's why I'm going with just the offense.
Yeah, probably Nico.
And if that guy's gone, like, now where's the next best player for the Texans rank? It's probably just in line with what New England has,
Who
right?
would you say is the next best player for the Texans offense?
I think Christian Kirk and Dalton Schultz can
Either
make
Woody
plays.
Marks or Schultz would be my answer.
I think Schultz and Kirk can make plays if need be.
Yeah,
It doesn't come down to their weapons. It comes down to their quarterback. Because C.J. Stroud was abysmal in that game. But as I've said before, that defense keeps it a one-score football game. All you need is one play. All you'll need is one play, unless the defense underperforms. But I think Christian Kirk and Dalton Schultz can make plays for them if need be. Let's not act like Nico Collins was a world beater this season for Houston. Like he was
had 1,100
I know,
yards.
but there were times where he was absent for them, and they still found ways to come up with big plays. I think their defense is the reason they're even in the playoffs right now.
I'm flipping to New England now that he's out.
I'll take all your money. He already owes us money. Or no, not money, beer.
We don't know that yet. He might be top 60 Mason Win.
No, he's not top 60 Mason Win. For those that don't remember, BK told us he'd buy us all beer if Mason Win wasn't a top 100 player. He was adamant.
On the MLB Network top 100 list that is coming out this week.
He didn't get up there?
Yeah, he wasn't 80 to 60, and that makes me a little nervous.
I think he'll be top 50, man. I think he'll be top 50.
Yeah, probably. Other games this weekend, Broncos versus Bills, Seahawks versus 49ers, Bears versus Rams. Injuries, a significant story in the 49ers versus the Seahawks game. Did you guys see the report today out of 49ers camp?
No, what happened?
Fred Warner's back on the field?
He's been training lately. They said they thought he could come back.
Anytime you see the 49ers on national TV, you kind of get the, hey, don't forget about Fred Warner. He might be back in the playoffs.
Adam Schefter on Pat McAfee just a minute ago. Fred Warner is pushing to play this week. He's not giving up hope. 49ers don't have to activate him until Saturday afternoon.
This would be the game you have to play him. If you want to advance, you need him in this football game because I don't think you could get through Seattle without a difference maker on defense.
It's not just him. Trent Williams practicing today. He played in the game last week, but he didn't practice much at all. So that suggests he's getting closer to full health. And then I believe I had also seen
Pearsall practicing.
Pearsall was practicing as well, which is huge.
Yeah, I'm still leaning
If
Seattle.
they're closer to full health, I'll give them a shot in this game.
Yeah, I love Fred Warner. Don't get me wrong, he is a stud. I still don't know if he's enough to help salvage that defense.
I don't know, man. That's a real game changer to make them at least below average instead of abysmal.
Yeah, they've still got too many problems, though, in my mind. Like, I still think Seattle is the team to take in that game. Now, does that make me lean more of maybe you could get San Fran on the points at +7 a little bit, because I thought Seattle would cover that spread like they did the last time these teams met, but I still just think they're not going to be able to take down that Seahawks team.
No George Kittle looms large in this game.
Yeah, that's why
he's an important piece.
That's why you need Fred Warner in this football game. Your offense isn't going to do it. is going to be your defense that can keep you close with Seattle.
He's Alex. That's T-Bone. I'm BK. We'll certainly continue breaking down these matchups as we continue along here tomorrow on BK and Ferrario and give you our finalized predictions for this weekend's divisional round. Coming up in 15 minutes, we will get into the junk drawer. But next, we continue talking football. On the Indiana side of things in college football, are they going to go down as an outlier or the start of something new in college football? We'll talk about that next year on BK and Ferrario.
Tanner Hendrickson here, and the NFL playoffs are underway, and DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and they make every moment feel bigger. I'm looking ahead to this weekend. Let's go to that Rams and Bears game. I'm getting a little worried about the Rams going to be able to win this one, but I'm still going to go with them on the money line. I'm going to Devontae Adams touchdown, and it's going to be freezing cold in Chicago, so I am going to be taking the under 48.5. And get this, with DraftKings, they have got your back this postseason with early exit protection. So if you have a bet with a player and you're eligible NFL prop bet like I do with Devontae Adams scoring a touchdown, if he goes down at any point in the first half, I will still get paid in cash, and they will cover you as well. So with DraftKings, you're covered through the entire half, so why bet your player props anywhere else? Maybe you're thinking, Tanner, I don't really have a great read on this game right now. Well, don't worry. They have got great live betting options for you throughout the NFL postseason as well. So download that DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code TANNER, that's code TANNER, to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Additional terms at dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Blues will be back in action tomorrow night when they host the Tampa Bay Lightning. We'll have pregame coverage starting at 6 o'clock with Alex Ferrario. Puck drop at 7 o'clock with Chris Garber and Joey Vitale. The Sports Center update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an Icon Heating and Air Conditioning dealer.
With Alex and T-Bone on BK, it's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Saw a stat earlier today, Alex. It stood out to me because I was wondering, is this the start of something new? Or is this just because Curt Cignetti is one of the greatest coaches we've ever seen in the history of the sport? On3, one of the recruiting services, tweeted this out. The last 20 national champions had at least 2 top 10 recruiting classes in the 4-year cycle prior to their winning season. In other words, to make this a little easier to understand, they had a couple elite-level recruiting seasons prior to them becoming a champion. So you could kind of see it coming. You could look back at the previous 4 years of recruiting and said, all right, who was in the top 10? How many of them did it multiple times? That's your list. You could, like, cross-section it off. That's your list of teams that could actually compete for a title this year. Indiana's different. I'll go ahead and read you off their recruiting rankings over the last 4 years. According to On3. Number 29, nice. Number 59, number 60, and number 53.
Dang.
For context, here's Miami's recruiting rankings. Number 14, number 5, number 8, number 13. One of them is an elite level recruiter. The other very much is not. Is this a new trend? Because we do have NIL, we do have the transfer portal. There are new ways for you to accumulate talent on your roster beyond just top 10 recruiting classes. Or are we going to look back on this like we have many other things across football, whether it's NFL or college football related, and say, yeah, Indiana was the outlier here. Sure, Curt Cignetti can do that, but if you try to do your version of it, you're going to leave saying, we just got a watered-down version of what Indiana was. How do you feel we're going to remember this Indiana team in that regard,
That's
Alex?
where I'm at. I think other teams try it, and they don't have the same success that Curt Cignetti have. And I don't know why I feel that way. It just feels like Curt Cignetti is a different mind than some of these other guys we've seen. And I credit most of it to the development of Mendoza and what you've seen from there. Like, I think a lot of teams can try this, but until you find a way to get the quarterback and turn him into this, that's what really sets you over the top. So I would give credit to Curt Cignetti and say other teams try it and continue to fail and say, well, we thought we were going to be the next Indiana.
Yeah, I don't think this is a one-off. Now, maybe it is for Indiana and somebody else kind of takes their place in doing this and does it better. I don't think this I don't know if college football is any longer about what your recruiting class is. I think it is all about what you do in the portal, right? That's where I think this is where you can really win now in college football. Because as we see this, like Indiana, they had brought a bunch of guys over from James Madison, where he came from, right? And that would never have been a top recruiting class. And they were able to win. And I think that the reason that this stat is here, I'm not saying that it's a cherry-pick stat, but this is how college football ran for previous 20 years almost. And I think this is the first part where we're getting to this cycle where it's really the last, 3 years where the portal's really taken off and you're seeing teams like Mizzou be able to upgrade on the fly. We've seen Tennessee be able to do this on the fly. I think there will be teams that will learn to do what Curt Cignetti is doing and be able to build these awesome teams. Look at Texas Tech, for example, to build these awesome teams, and it's mostly coming through the portal, not via high school recruiting.
I disagree. I think what he's doing is different. Texas Tech had the number 2 transfer portal class in the country last year. Do you know what Indiana ranked, according to 24/7 Sports?
17.
That feels about right, yeah.
25. So we're talking about a team that was in the 50s in their recruiting rankings over the last 5 years on average, and their previous 2 portal classes were number 30 and number 25. If you're just looking at it from a pure talent perspective, based upon the way that we've traditionally ranked these teams, they are a historic outlier in every possible way. At least with Texas Tech, you could look at them, or Miami, you could look at them. Like Miami's transfer portal class was also number 3 last year. Texas Tech was number 2 last season. You can look at them and say, yeah, they are taking elite level talent via the transfer portal. That has not historically been the case for a program like Indiana. Now it's getting better. Their upcoming transfer portal class is ranked number 6 because I think a lot of the kids in college football right now are seeing what Curt Cignetti has done. And it's an easy sell. Look at what I was able to do with these kids. Now imagine if I get higher level talent, what I could do with you, not only for our program, but also for your future, where I have currently 5 to 10 players that are expected to be drafted next year. Now imagine what it looks like with better talent. It's an easy sell if you're Curt Cignetti. So they're now getting a higher caliber of player that is willing to commit to Indiana as opposed to the guys that he was just selling hope. He was just saying, hey, this is what we think we can do down the road. Now it is, look at what we will do with you as a part of this thing. I think they're an outlier. I don't think this is a sign of things to come. I don't think this is a, hey, you can build this way. Here is the process. This is what you can do. Cignetti is one of one in my mind. And I'm not overhyping him. I'm not saying something that he's not. Dude, he's doing this at Indiana, a historical doormat in college football, something that we've never seen done before. And he's taking recruited classes that ranked in the 50s and transfer portal classes that ranked in the 20s or 30s and potentially winning a national title with that. We've never seen that done. Never. Not in the modern era of college football. So spare me with the NIL, with the transfer portal, all of this. This is one of the greatest coaching jobs I've ever seen done in all of sports. And I don't think that it's replicable. I think if you are trying to replicate what they have done, you are ultimately going to live to regret it because there's no way to do it. You have to have that guy to make this thing possible in my mind.
I think a coach is going to say, I can replicate this, sell it to a program, and then it underwhelms, and the program's like, you told me you could do this.
I think what you can't do...
And that coach gets fired.
Yeah, and I think what you can't do is you can't have the transfer portal in the... What'd you say his first one was, like 26th or something, 25, 30, somewhere in that range?
30 and then 25.
You probably got to be more in what he's getting next, which is like the 5-6.
Absolutely.
Because
that's Ole Miss. Ole Miss was that.
Yeah, and that's the model that I think if you look at that, you have to look at it based on that. But what I would argue is, like, I think maybe the ranking system on the transfer portal class that he brought in was wrong. Like, was it 30th best? I don't know, man. Like, look at where he's been over the last 2 years. He's lost one freaking football game. Like, I think they maybe got it wrong in how they ranked his transfer portal class.
Or he's that good of a coach. And
I think you have to have good elite talent to be able to do what he has done. And that's not to take away from him. I do think he is a great coach, but I think he has I think these guys were elite talent when they came in, and we just undersold what they were. And I think the systems are underselling what they are.
How many players were drafted in the top 100 selections last year by Indiana?
I don't think they had one.
Not a single one.
Oh, a couple this year, though.
Probably. But if they had such elite talent last year and they had one guy drafted in the top 225 overall selections, maybe they weren't elite talent.
But didn't he return most of his guys? I mean, he
returned a lot of them, yeah. And this year, like, now you're seeing it pay off for them. But that also included transfer portal guys from this year, and it included guys that were developed by them. Like, I think that we just have to tip our cap to an all-time great coaching job. This is... If you're not an elite level recruiter, I don't think that you can just suddenly become a legitimate national title contender unless you have Curt Cignetti. He's the guy that changes your fortune. If you have him, you can recruit in the 50s. You can go out there and get transfer portal classes that are in the 30s, and you can have success. If you don't have Curt Cignetti, good luck. That's not a realistic way that you can go out there and expect to be a contender. You can make it potentially to the playoff. We've seen teams in the past that are out, like TCU, when they got to the playoff. They were not a wildly talented team, but they got to the playoff and got their ass handed to them. Never made it to the national championship game.
They won in the semifinals.
Yeah, and then got their they got destroyed.
Better than I've seen Mizzou.
Absolutely.
Why you always got to go back to that?
This is not a Mizzou versus TCU thing. I'm just talking about big picture college football. What does this mean? Because this feels like it's a moment. Like something is shifting in the landscape of college football. And that something to me is Curt Cignetti is taking the league by the you-know-what and saying, this is mine now. And some people, I think, are saying, this is not a Curt Cignetti thing. This is not an Indiana thing. This is the sport is changing fundamentally thing. I disagree with that. I think that the sport changing has allowed for Cignetti to take advantage of the new rules that exist, but I think he's just better at it than anybody else is. And anybody that tries to copy his specific model, I don't think it's going to work to the same degree. So that's my personal opinion on the matter.
That's where I'm at as well. I don't know what it is about Curt Cignetti, but it just feels like Curt Cignetti is putting on a clinic in college football that others feel like, oh yeah, we could do that, and it's going to fail miserably when they try.
Thrill Fan 22 said, BK, what makes Curt Cignetti such a fantastic coach? A lot of things. One, clearly he's a great culture builder. That's one. That he makes players believe they're capable of more than they would be elsewhere. Yeah. That is very clear to me. He's an unbelievable motivator, and I think that gets undersold in college, where you have 18 to 22-year-olds that every week we see wildly erratic performance based upon the fact that these are really young kids that can be swayed upon how their exams went that week, how their girlfriend is treating them, what their home life is like. Like, think about all of the influences that 18 to 22-year-olds, think about yourself when you were 18 to 22 and how much your performance or your mood or whatever shifted on a day-to-day basis. And now you add in money and agents and everything else that's thrown into it. Good luck trying to handle all of those egos. So that's a big part of it. But beyond that, X's and O's wise, he's amazing. He's unbelievable at execution. It is Nick Saban 2.0 in that area. You watch these games, they never seem out of place. Every single guy on the roster seems to know exactly where he needs to be on every single play, and it's a Saban-Belichick thing where it's do your job and the play will work. And every single play, it seems like every single guy is doing their job to the highest possible degree. So it's everything. It's all of those things. And then it's player accumulation. I don't think he is getting the top-level talent, but I think he knows exactly what he needs for his system to work, and he goes and identifies that talent and then puts them into position to succeed. All of that is just, it's coaching 101, and he's the best at it right now compared to anybody else that we've seen. So that's my personal opinion on the matter. I think he is special at college football coaching. All right, Junk Jordan next year on 101 ESPN. A lot of our YouTube chat saying it's very clear that was a BK segment. Yeah, it was. It was my segment that I brought to the table. I'm very passionate about it. I think it's one of the biggest stories in sports in recent memory. I apologize. I got a little carried away there.
Yeah, we know, buddy. We know. Anytime a college football segment comes up in the 12 o'clock hour, just know BK made a decision for the team.
Yeah.
All right, let's dive into the junk drawer. T-Bone, what do you have for us today?
So I saw we were talking about AI, last week, 2 weeks ago?
Always in on an AI conversation.
I saw there was it doesn't say where, but there was a police department somewhere that started to use an AI program to help them write their police reports, right? Rather than having the police officers do, you kind of type it in, boom, you can get it done real quick. Sounds kind of smart, actually, right? Well, until at one point they noticed a claim in a police report that said the officer had transformed into a frog during the arrest. Police discovered the system had accidentally pulled dialogue from a Disney film playing in the background during the body cam recording, which is why the AI then transformed that the police officer during the arrest or incident, whatever it is, transformed into a frog that they wrote on the police report with the AI system.
Oh, my God.
Ta-da!
I am so confused by that.
So the AI system is only as good as the input.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if it has a transcription from the audio that has something in the background that's playing, so in this scenario,
The Princess
I
and the
guess,
Frog.
yeah, some Disney movie, it would take that as this is evidence that we are using as part of the report. So clearly, some guy transformed into a frog.
Imagine
And
being.
we need to include that in this report.
What this doesn't say is how they discovered this. Like, was this in court, as you can see?
That's what I'm saying.
The officer here transformed to a frog. It's why my client is innocent.
That's what I'm saying. Like, imagine being in jail and, like, your lawyer comes in and says, all right, we got a weird case. Did you turn into a frog? And, like, wait, what? Don't even realize what I've been arrested for. I've been, wait, what?
I saw this. I was like, this is
AI,
this
man.
is
Dangerous.
Chef's kiss.
It is. We could talk about some of the other stuff that's been going on with AI.
No. Anytime you say other stuff, I know that means it's time to go to break. Unless you want to talk more Kurt Signetti and the Indiana football team.
I mean, hey, man, I've got like 3 hours of content on Kurt Signetti if you want to talk about it.
This is why we're not doing a dad
I did
pod.
see that there's still officials, those monkeys we talked about, that they're not even sure if they're actually real.
Oh, really? Is it potentially all AI?
That's what they're not 100% sure, because they have like one monkey that's
This is
been
gonna get so
spotted by
bad.
they do have one monkey. I think I saw the report was that they saw at least one, and it was a confirmed sighting from a police officer. But then, of course, they're getting a bunch of trash from AI systems.
We got to go to break, T-Bone. We got some Blues news to talk about on the other side here on 101 ESPN. Big news from the St. Louis Blues. Robert Thomas is heading to the IR. According to the team, he will be reevaluated in 2 weeks. Alex, just looking at the way that the schedule lays out for the Blues, they're about 2.5 weeks until we get to the Olympic break. My guess would be if he's being reevaluated in a couple of weeks with a lower body injury, you probably won't see him again for about 6 weeks because that's when they return from the Olympic break.
Unless guys heal up healthier like they've done this season, because multiple of the guys have been back a week earlier than what they've expected. But for this one, Joey said it on pregame the other night. He's been dealing with something pretty much all season. We remember he missed some time early on this year. They're probably looking at this as like, look, we're not playing well. You're hurt. Go get healthy and come back after the Olympics. Take 6 weeks off.
Go get healthy so we can
Play you
trade him.
Post-February.
His names are out.
When you're healthy,
we'll put you back in the lineup post-Olympics.
So you can really bump that stock up and prove to the team that you are healthy for us to trade.
Look, man,
what's the NHL trade deadline this year?
March 6th?
Yeah, I think that's right.
6th or
6th
8th?
or 7th. Oh.
6th, 7th, or 8th.
Maybe
window.
9th. What the hell?
NHL trade deadline date.
March 13th, probably.
Let's see. Thomas' name starts appearing in the rumor mill. He's
March
dealt with
6th.
an injury all year, and now he's on IR.
Blues will play 1, 2, 3, 4 games after the Olympic break prior to the trade deadline.
Yeah. Look, you can't stop the theories running through your head. And, I mean, that has to be one for people if they're thinking of it. Like, okay, what's going on here? I don't think you're putting him on IR so you can rest him up to trade him. If they're going to trade him, they're going to trade him. Scouts know what the injuries are. I think you're putting him on IR so that you just say, go get healthy. Plus, it gives your opportunities to play your like now Dvorsky is a top 6 center. We've questioned if he's a top 6 center. Cool. For the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, really, you're going to be a top center for this team. But yeah, I mean, you have to start wondering, like, okay, are they really exploring this thing?
It really makes me wonder. I mean, all of the breadcrumbs that have been out there with seemingly every national insider saying, hey, his name's out there. You don't get this. So we got this text from the 636. Guys, Jamie says the rumor mill means nothing. I think there are certain scenarios in which that's fair. Like when there is one national reporter that says, hey, there's speculation out there, so-and-so may be available. I'll just say one, right? We like David Pagnotta.
Yeah.
Every year this time of the year, and it happened again this year.
Colton Parayko.
Colton Parayko's available. I'm hearing Colton Parayko's name. Of course you are, David. Of course.
David, if there's one thing I know, why are you trying to get Parayko traded, David?
We know. I have not heard that from anybody other than David Pagnotta. Mm-hmm. He's the only one that continues to say this. When you hear it from Chris Johnston and Darren Drager and Elliot Friedman and any other insider that has any level of skin in the game, that's when I start to say, all right, there might be a little something to this.
And it's not just one, it's 4 of them. 4 of them have brought it up. That's when you start to say, cool, where there's smoke, there's fire. And we've known since November that Doug Armstrong has been calling people saying everyone's available. That's what the report was. So, yeah, I mean, if this was one person just throwing it at the wall saying, well, I wonder if Thomas is going to go. This isn't I wonder if Thomas is going to go. Chris Johnston had it in his piece on The Athletic. Heck, JR said it on the Last Minute Blues podcast that from what he's understood, top players' names have come up in conversations. And Robert Thomas's name is a part of that.
None of this means they will trade him.
No.
There were talks about Jordan Kyrou in the offseason. They didn't get to the point where the Blues decided it's worth our time to trade him. It's worth what we're getting in return. Let's go ahead and make the move. They chose not to do that. That very well may end up being the case here with Robert Thomas as well. But the fact that his name is getting thrown out there is not something I expected this season. I thought he was one of, 3 or 4 players on the team that's just untradeable. Yeah. You do not move that guy.
Thought it was untouchable.
Here's my question for you, Alex, because we talked about this, kind of got into it a little bit off air.
We didn't fight, so don't put the narrative out there that Alex got angry. I didn't get angry.
And that's why you have a black eye right now.
Come on, man.
You only got to prove if it's true or false by going to our YouTube page, 101 ESPN STL.
There's some good advertising right
find
there.
Out if that's true or false.
If the Blues made this move, do they have to get something in particular in return in your mind?
Yes, I think so. I think you have to find another center in return.
Why?
because if I'm trading away a number one center now that I thought was a core piece of my team, I want to get a projected top center for my team's future. I want that piece to become a part of my core. And why is that in a trade? Because if you look at this draft, the best available center is the 5th or 6th projected overall pick. The top 2 picks are McKenna and Stenberg, who are wingers. You don't transition them to centers. And the defenseman is the 3rd best available player. I think Craig Button actually just had his rankings in terms of the prospects. So if I'm Doug Armstrong, I'm Alexander Steen, I'm trading away a guy that was supposed to be a part of my core. I'm bringing in something that projects to be a top center for my organization.
By the way, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. I promised T-Bone coming into the segment that we would tease Beat the Blues. We will be playing Beat the Blues coming up in about 20 minutes here on BK and Ferrario. If you guys want to get involved today, the winner will be going home with a signed hockey puck by Pavel Buchnevich. If you want to be involved in Beat the Blues today, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. Just text in, I can beat the Blues. We'll do that in about 20 minutes here on BK and Ferrario. I disagree with it, Alex.
Oh, surprise, surprise.
And the reason why is because I don't think you have to get a center in return for Robert Thomas. If you trade Robert Thomas, I think you're going into a full-blown rebuild, similar to what we're talking about with the Cardinals right now, where it's going to be a multi-year path to get back into relevance. Next year, my expectation, if they trade Robert Thomas, would be this team's not going to be any good next year. And so you'll get another top 5-ish overall selection. So you'll have that as an out. You'll have the potential to trade for a center as an out. You'll have the potential to go out to free agency as an out. And when you have all of these different avenues to secure the rights of a number one center, I don't feel the need to get that in return for Thomas. I will just take whatever the top talent is that's available. If that top talent is a winger, great. I'll take it. If that top talent is a defenseman, fantastic. The only place that I'm probably not looking for is a goalie, because I feel like you've got one for the future in Joel Hofer already in place. But I don't feel a need to get my Robert Thomas replacement in the deal for Thomas, because I don't know that they need to replace Robert Thomas for 2026. I think that is a 2027, 2028, and 2029 conversation.
And you're probably right, but and this is just a differing opinion, which, surprise, surprise, I feel this way. I don't think the Blues would be viewing it as we're going into a full-blown rebuild. I think they would view this as we're going to try and make some trades that may set us back a year, but we have all of the other pieces that we believe can keep us somewhat competitive, and then we're going to develop guys that can join this core of players. You've got the goaltenders that can keep you in games. You'll keep most of your defensemen with Juracek coming on board, and your wingers, I mean, you've got Holloway, Neighbors, Stenberg, potentially the 2nd overall pick that I would imagine, if you draft there, is joining the team right away, and you're inserting Carbonneau with the Snuggerud. Like, again, it's not going to be a great-looking team, but you have some of the competitive pieces that are already NHL seasoned, and if I can trade for a guy that is playing in college hockey now, which this is just me projecting if they can get this Michael Haig from Montreal, I get a 19-year-old who's in his 2nd year of college hockey who probably is going to be NHL ready next year, is performing at the college level. If I bring him to the NHL level, I mean, Matty Beniers is the one that I just told you comped it to, who was doing the same thing that this kid's doing. And the first full season in Seattle, he put up 55 points, playing second-line minutes, and made it to the playoffs on a Seattle Kraken team. So if I can't now, again, I don't know if Montreal's going to put him in the deal. And if nobody's offering me a center and somebody's offering me, hey, this is a generational talent on defense, generational talent on wing, yeah, I'm not going to turn it down. Nope, not a center. I'm looking, my priority is to find a center in the deal if I'm trading Robert Thomas.
Oh, I'm fine
So
with
if I
that.
can get your top prospect, who is a center, who projects as a number one center, into my system, next year I want him playing with my team. Because now I've got this core of 19 to 23-year-old players that are going to develop over the next 2 years and hopefully at least keep me in the competitive window.
I mean, that core that you're talking about right now is at the bottom of the barrel in the NHL, and that includes Parayko and Benner and Shin and Thomas and Kyrou. I don't think I'm getting better by trading those guys.
I don't think I'm better. I'm getting better. I'm getting a different mindset. And the mindset that I have had for the last 3 years with the core that I've had, I just looked at this. Every single year going back to the 22-23 season, you have been a 500 hockey team up until December 31st.
Yeah, they're not good enough. I've certainly made that case for years now on the show.
But we've seen young guys step into the NHL and have success immediately. immediately that nobody expected. And I'm not saying guys that you're trading for are going to become Macklin Celebrini. But again, I just brought up Matty Beniers with the Seattle Kraken. The year he was drafted 2nd overall, he played in college. The next season he played in college. He joined them at the end of the season. So his first full season, he put up 24 goals, 57 points, played second line minutes, and helped them get to the second round of the playoffs.
Who's your top line if you trade Robert Thomas and potentially Jordan Kyrou?
If I can get the guy that I'm saying and Michael Hague from Montreal, probably Michael Hague playing with some of these guys.
Who are the teams that are good playoff contenders that have done it the way you're talking about right away? I'm saying like that they bring those guys in or they develop those players, they become immediately top line players for them, and they're good. It just doesn't happen.
Sustained good? But good in the first couple of years. Matty Beniers with Seattle. You made him a playoff team. On an expansion roster that if you look at it, it's not pretty.
Yeah, and they did it once.
They did it once.
But yeah, this is where
But do you feel like the development of all the other pieces around are better than Seattle? Because Seattle was chasing their tail for a goaltender.
I'm not
to
sure
me,
that
that feels like an outlier more than a we can build this way.
It's got a chance to be an outlier.
I mean, the Colorado Avalanche were terrible early on when they had one of the greatest players that I've ever seen at the NHL level. Yep. So if you're going this direction, Alex, to me, you are in a full rebuild. Like they might already be in a full rebuild with Robert Thomas. And then you trade Robert Thomas for somebody that I would assume next year will be worse than him. Robert Thomas, I can have all my qualms with him. The guy's a good NHL player right now. Maybe he's not an NHL #1 center on a championship contender. I personally feel that way. But he's very good. He definitely helps them win more than they would without him. And if I'm trading him for future players, guys that are currently in college that could become really good NHL players, may ultimately be better long-term than Robert Thomas, my expectation would be next season they are significantly worse than him. So I think this team is more likely to get worse than better if they make a deal like this, which is why I wouldn't necessarily limit my options to the center position. I would be looking at whoever the best talent is possible outside of the goalie position. Outside of that, I don't feel like this team is set anywhere. I don't think they're set at center. I don't think they're set at the wing. I don't think they're set defensively right now.
And if you're rebuilding too, like as much as I agree, you probably are set at goalie. Who knows what Hofer looks like in potentially 5 years, right? Like that. I mean, that might become more of a problem later down the road. But
sure,
if you're in a rebuild, I mean, I think you're right. You're not set anywhere.
I just think goalie it fluctuates so much, and like a young, good goaltending
like
prospect. Yeah, I just wouldn't be trading my top level players for a goaltending prospect. I'd be willing to trade though for basically anything else.
Yeah,
they're in a really weird spot right now. I don't have a great comparison for it, but it's scary.
I also fear like if they do the route of like trying to be competitive during it, which you brought up there, Alex. Look at what I got them now. I mean, that's what they just tried, right? They just tried to retool this thing on the fly. And over the last, 4 years, I guess, they've made the playoffs once, and they were a fringe playoff team. Like, you might be able to do that. My concern, though, is can you ever get it back to being a contender? And I think the toughest realization for the Blues, how do you get to a contender? Look at what all the teams in the West did. Look at what most of these teams did that got there. They rebuilt. They rebuilt it. You look at Colorado. How they get McKinnon? They went through a rebuild. How they get McCarr? Part of the rebuild. You look at the Oilers. What did they do? Now they rebuild for a long time. They finally got Connor McDavid because they were in the rebuild. Like, I think that is where you have to come to the realization of, you know what, maybe retooling just doesn't work. We need to enter a rebuild.
They're in a rebuild right now.
Yeah.
They haven't called it as much, but if you're going to be a top 3 overall selection this year, that you've already had another top 10 selection during this era as well, you're in the rebuild. They fell into it. We talked about this a couple of years ago. Now, last year, we got thrown off the scent because of an unbelievable 2-month stretch. But beyond that, they have basically done what we talked about with the Sharks, where I remember we talked about this on the air, Alex, and I brought up the Sharks didn't plan to go in the rebuild. They got stuck in one. And then they had all of these bad contracts on the books, and they're like, oh, no, our young players didn't become what we expected them to be. We signed guys that were getting old, and we got old quickly and slow, and we didn't adjust to the times. Oh, no, now here we are. And it took them a while to get back on track, but now they do have a superstar-level player in Macklin Celebrini, and they're coming out on the other side. I don't think it has to be a 5-year rebuild. That is one thing that I'll push back a little bit on. I think they could do this in a couple of seasons. They get a superstar level player this offseason in the draft. They make a couple of shrewd moves via the trades, and they have another really good top 5 overall selection next year. You could get right back on track by 2027. Maybe you're a contender by 2028, 2029. But I think you're in the heart of it. This is what it looks like. This is what it feels like. When we start talking about trading Robert Thomas, you don't do that if you're in a retool. You do that if you're in a rebuild, because that's the kind of guy that can help you get out of the retool. Trading him puts you a tier below that, in my opinion. But that's just a label. I know some people push back on that no matter what. But my personal view of the matter, if you trade Robert Thomas, I think you are in the heart of a rebuild right now.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. You're trading the guy that was supposed to carry you through the core. I think you can make it go faster if you get a guy that's already been drafted, already gone through some of the development, and I would be pursuing, of course, the best available player, but I would be searching for the center to get into my group that I already have so that I get the center. And then in the draft, I can go out there and hopefully get an elite talent on wing if I'm drafting in that position. And I think if you get the right guy that can come to the NHL quickly, I think you can make it go faster than a full-blown rebuild of what it takes to where the next 2 years you're drafting first overall.
He's Alex. That's T-Bone on BK. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we will play a game of Beat the Blues. If you guys want to get involved, the text line is the place to do so. 314-399-9646 is the Your Comfort Service text line. If you text in, I can beat the Blues, we'll take our contestants. The winner today will be going home with a signed hockey puck by Pavel Buchnevich and tickets to see the St. Louis Blues. Coming up next, though, it's a Thursday. It's 1:15. That means it's time for Believe It or Not here on BK and Ferrario.
BK, this is why we tell people to go over to the Underdog app. We try and win them some money. Yesterday, I had a 6-leg play over on Underdog that I know BK kind of laughed at. Well, I got 5 of the 6, which I know isn't a win, but thank you, Underdog, because I used the flex deal. And that still got me. Now, it didn't get me the 20-1 odds, but still got you 12-1. So you need to download the Underdog app. They offer promo boost, profit boost that you can add to your picks. But on top of that, that flex option whole baby, does it help you at times.
It certainly does. If you end up missing on one of your plays, you can still get the payout over on the Underdog app. It's a little less money, but it's basically like insurance. It makes it more likely that you get paid out nonetheless. You can get in on the action this weekend for the divisional round of the NFL. I like doing these for college basketball. You can do it. The NFL playoff best ball pools are back open. If you want to get involved in that, it's basically fantasy football, but for the playoffs, I love getting involved with that over on the Underdog app. What are you waiting for? Download it today. Use our promo code BKO. You'll score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code BKO. Underdog. Make plays, win money. Must be 18 or older, present in Missouri. Terms do apply. See assets at underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
Turn those frowns upside down, boys.
Who's frowning?
All the Blues fans.
Rebuild?
Yeah. Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. I never thought I could feel so
Free, flying away on a wing in a prayer. Who could it be?
Believe it or not, it's just me.
314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line for Believe It or Not. You guys give us a scenario. We will tell you if we are believing it or not here on 101 ESPN. All right, let's start out with this, Alex. Believe it or not, in 6 months, both Robert Thomas and Brendan Donovan still play here in St. Louis.
Both of them, I'll say not believe it.
By mid-July, both Brendan Donovan and Robert Thomas play for the Blues and the Cardinals.
I'll say not believe it. I don't know who, but I think one of them will be gone.
Yeah, I'm not going to believe it either. I think at least Donovan will be gone, and I think there's a growing chance that Thomas is gone as well. So, yeah,
Same.
I'm not going to believe it.
Sweep it. I think at least one, maybe both are gone.
Kind of took mine because I was going to say, believe it or not, both Thomas and Kyrou are not playing on the Blues next season.
I think one of them will be here.
I don't know, man.
I think the one of your core that is Pavel Buchnevich.
Yeah, Kyra makes us too good if he's still here. We're tearing it down, man.
Does he? I'm watching it right now. It sure doesn't seem
He's on pace for 11 goals, big boy.
Fair. 11? That's his pace?
It was either 11 or 13, I saw somebody say today.
Let's take a look.
What the?
He
Maybe
is
they played pretty well last game.
He is tied with Braden Shin in points this season.
He missed games.
14. He's projected for 14 goals this year in 65 games.
I saw somebody, and I know BK wasn't listening when I was saying it in the office, but right now there is 2 teams on pace to not have a 20-goal scorer in the NHL. And the last time a team did not have a 20-goal scorer on their team in an 82-game schedule was the 08-09 New York Islanders.
I was listening. I just didn't remember the team.
No, you weren't, buddy.
That's
You were scrolling the portal.
Then got onto Twitter. Yeah. Guys, believe it or not, the next playoff berth from one of the 2 major sports teams here in St. Louis will not be until 2028 at least.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
The bar to clear is just so low. I mean, we saw 2 good months of Blues hockey last year. They made the playoffs.
Guys,
the same thing can be true for the Cardinals.
We see it day to day, but like the outsider would look and say, damn, the Blues still could make the playoffs. Like, Western Conference is like, it's
This
still
year?
open. No, not, well, this year. I mean, what, they're like 7 points out still?
Yeah.
Oh, no. You didn't hear what I said the first one because you were scrolling again. I said an outsider would just look at the standings and say the Blues still are in the race.
I would say an outsider would not view it that way.
I think an outsider would because it's like 6 points. Everybody is still within striking distance of each other.
Down 5 points with 6 teams in front of them. San Jose Sharks have 2 games fewer played than the Blues.
5 points. Somebody would look at it and say they could still get in.
And you're doing it now without your top centerman.
Half
for the
the
next
league
2
gets
weeks.
into the NHL playoffs.
See, I'm
not
gonna
believing
believe
it.
this. I don't think either team's in the playoffs before at least 2028. Like, I don't think 26 the Cardinals aren't making it. 27, if they are better, I don't think it's significant enough to be in the playoffs. And if they are trading Thomas, I don't think the Blues are going to be good for the next 2 seasons. So, at minimum, 2028 is the next chance I think is best for one of these 2 teams to be back in the playoffs.
By the way, I got a lot of crap from people who said you can't get a winger back. This team's got no 20-goal scorers on it, and they couldn't use a winger?
True.
All right.
Wingers struggle because you don't have a good center.
Like Thomas.
By the way, the Blues 10-1 to make it to the NHL playoffs this year. So if you think they're going to,
No, thanks.
there's some
I don't
money
think
to
they
be
were going to.
made.
Again, you didn't listen. You were scrolling on the portal website.
No.
I think anybody would see the standings and be like, yeah, they're still in it.
The only teams with worse playoff odds than the Blues in the entire league are the New York Rangers and the Chicago Blackhawks, both of whom are at 12-1.
I would also say if you're
One
one of
who
those,
is in front of you, by the way.
I would also say if you're one of those that's looking, they're only 6 or 7 points out, I would say, okay, now let's move our eyes a little bit to the right and what's our goal differential? Minus 40-something? Yeah, probably not turning it around.
Blackhawks fans are probably saying they could get into the playoffs, and they're only 1 point
At least
ahead
they've
of
got
you.
like a Bedard, so at least they can dream on
Also,
something.
the one team that's in the playoffs. Again, this makes it sound like I'm defending this Blues team can't make the
would
playoffs.
you
I can't.
put
They're not
defending
making the
lose?
playoffs. But like the one team that's in the playoffs is a minus 19 goal differential. So
Or minus
3
40.
times better than you. T-Bone, what do you have for us today?
I did mine.
I literally just gave
it.
it.
2020.
Good job listening again.
On Twitter.
Jesus, turn the portal website off.
I was looking for the odds for the playoffs. All right, 314-399-9646 is the Your Comfort Service text line for Believe It or Not. Guys, believe it or not, the Cardinals lose 100 games next season. Man, it's a fun time to be a St. Louis sports fan.
Damn, we better be entertaining moving forward.
I'll say not. I don't think they lose 100.
I don't think they're a
It's a lot of
100 loss team. That's a lineup that can get 80 wins, right, BK?
It could. I don't think it will, but it could.
Yeah, odds are they're not. I'll say believe it, though, man. What's the thing they're going to be able to put their hat on this year? Because it's not the offense. The offense is only going to be bad. It was bad last year. Now imagine what it's going to be. They're pitching projections, so they're the 25th best rotation. And who knows what the bullpen could be, right? Swanson could end up being not good this year. O'Brien could go back to not knowing where the ball's going along with Ryan Stanek. They could have an awful bullpen, an awful rotation, and an awful offense. So, yeah, it's definitely possible they could lose 100, so I will say believe it.
What did the Angels have to hang their hat on last year?
I mean, they still had a decent offense.
They were
Still had Mike Trout.
minus 164 in their run differential.
Yeah, at least Zach Neto is a top 100 player in baseball.
Yeah. Didn't
Unlike
see
your
Mason
guy.
win there,
By the way, I like the glass bottles of cactus lime.
The reason that I bring this up, they lost 90 games last year. They were awful. They were truly horrific, and they lost 90 games. There were only 2 teams last year that lost 100 or more games. Chicago White Sox at 102 and Colorado Rockies at 119.
Out of curiosity, what was their run scored compared to the Cardinals?
The Angels last year?
Yep.
Angels on the season scored 673. Cardinals scored 689.
Wow, okay, that's surprising. I'm still going to say it's possible they lose 100.
Believe it or not, guys, Joe Burrow will be on a different team when the next NFL season begins. No, not.
I don't know how the Bengals could justify that.
Agreed.
You paid T. Higgins to stay, and then you trade the quarterback away? 0 cents. Everyone should be fired at that point.
Merp the Barbarian. Believe it or not, the Blues will acquire Brady Tkachuk this year, Alex.
Not. I don't know why.
Trade Thomas for Brady?
Yeah, sure. Dude, yeah, absolutely. You can have Thomas and Kyrou for Brady if you want.
Cool.
But no, he's not getting traded.
Yeah.
Wait till free agency if you want Tkachuk.
From the 618, believe it or not, the Blues will make hockey trades when they deal out Kyrou and Thomas, and they actually become more competitive next year. I would trade Thomas for Robertson. I know Alex pushed back on that, and I get it, but I would trade Thomas for Jason Robertson.
Even if we're bad, at least we have a 40-goal scorer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you have a 40-goal score. I think we're underselling what they have on Dallas's team to help Jason Robertson be a 40-goal scorer. I would not. I forgot what. Oh, they could be competitive. Depending on what they get in return and what they do with Thomas and Kyrou, I could see it, but I got to see what the return is before I believe into that.
I'm not believing it. I don't think if they trade Thomas, I don't care what the return is. I don't think they're going to be competitive next year.
314-399-9646 is the Your Comfort Service text line. Believe it or not, from the 314, Justin Falk will be traded once Rasmus Anderson is moved.
I'll believe this one. I don't think Falk's getting traded to the deadline. It sounds like Anderson might be getting dealt before the Olympics. They're trying to really move on to it. But the thing about it is Anderson's different because teams want him to re-sign an extension. He's a free agent. Falk's got another year.
Do you need him to be traded first before Falk?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I was thinking, too.
Yeah, you want him to go. But to me, it's going to be a different package because if he doesn't sign an extension, you're not giving up as much. I think Falk's a better offensive player than Anderson. I think Anderson is a better defensive player than Falk. So it comes down to what you need if you're a team, but you also have to make the cap work for this year and next year if you want to make that trade for Falk.
Agreed on all fronts. All right, believe it or not, last one here from the 618. All of the underdogs will cover this weekend. Bills are a 1.5-point underdog against the Broncos, 49ers +7, the Texans +3, and the Bears +3.5. Believe it or not, all of them will cover this weekend.
I'll say not believe it because I think one of the 49ers or Bears won't cover. I think both teams in the AFC will cover.
Yeah, I'm going to say not believe it either, mostly because odds tell me that somebody's not going to end up covering. And the one I'm thinking is potentially Bills, because I'm leaning taking Broncos in that game. And if it's only 1.5, it's basically a pick 'em. So Broncos can win by a field goal, and then I'm safe there. So I would
Bears
say
also make me nervous, +3.5. I do like that you get the hook, but that one makes me a little nervous.
I think the Bears might win that game. I'm getting
Really?
I'm getting more worried. This is going to be a cold game. which means, and it's supposed to be windy, so the passing game's not going to be there. So I can just see Monungai, Swift having huge running games, and then the Rams can't really establish a run, and they have to try and throw it with Stafford, and that's a bad formula then.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Coming up next, we'll continue our weekly segment that we call Beat the Blues. We will have contestants going up today against St. Louis Blues players, and the winner will go home with a signed hockey puck by Pavel Buchnevich and tickets to see the Blues versus the Kings coming up on January the 24th. Beat the Blues next year on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here, the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Blues will be back in action tomorrow night as they take on the Tampa Bay Lightning. We'll have pregame coverage starting at 6 o'clock with Alex Ferrario and puck drop at 7 o'clock with Chris Kerber and Joey Vitale. And the Blues will be without Robert Thomas as they placed him on injured reserve earlier today with a lower body injury. He will be reevaluated in 2 weeks. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an Icon Heating and Air Conditioning dealer.
It's time for our weekly segment that we play here on BK and Ferrario called Beat the Blues. This week's competitors will be going up against Jake Neighbors. The winner will go home with a signed hockey puck by Pavel Buchnevich and tickets to see the Blues versus the Kings coming up on January the 24th. We have Austin, Meredith, and Dan on the line today. Again, they'll be going up against Jake Neighbors. The contest is very simple. You will be going up against Jake Neighbors, and you'll have a category. You name as many different things within that category as you can in 15 seconds. So if I told Alex, name as many colors as you can. On your mark, get set, go.
Red, blue, green, yellow, black, orange, brown.
You got 7 of them. And then we hear from Jake Neighbors. Jake gets 6. Alex is a +1. Whoever is the best margin of victory or the lowest margin of defeat, at the end, we'll be going home with our grand prize.
Just don't tie.
Today. Please don't tie.
Just don't tie. We haven't planned for these things.
All right, let's hear from Austin. Austin, appreciate you being a part of the show today, man. How you doing?
Doing pretty good, guys. How are you guys doing?
Doing fantastic. Austin, do you understand the rules of the game?
Yeah, I played. I actually beat Colton Parayko a few years ago. It was a bit controversial, but I still won.
Oh, jeez. Austin, are you bringing back controversy?
A win to win, Austin.
Damn, Austin.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Austin, your category today, board games. Name as many board games as you can in 15 seconds. On your mark, get set, go.
Monopoly, Stitch Monopoly, Sorry, Clue, Life, I lost it. That's all I got.
Did he say Stitch Monopoly?
He did.
I think he did, yeah.
Why didn't you just go down that path,
Austin, how old are your kids?
Well, I didn't. That one was for my daughter. She's 7.
There you go.
Yeah, I was going to say,
And
I would have
then
just started
I got
listening.
2 little boys.
I would. Oh, you got 3? How old, Austin?
Daughter 7. My one son is 2 and 2 months, and my other son actually just turned 10 months today or yesterday.
My goodness, Austin. All right, so
Well, happy birthday
Fellow
to your
3-kid
son.
household. You're
Austin,
in
what's
the
your
thick.
other son's name?
I got Wyatt and Levi.
Is Levi the one that just had his birthday?
No, he just turned 10 months.
Oh,
yeah,
never
thanks for
mind.
listening again. So, you know what, Austin? He was looking at the portal message board to see what Mizzou got. So that's not on you, man. BK doesn't listen a whole lot.
I'd be doing the same. Who'd we get?
Nobody. He just keeps clicking refresh
yeah.
so he doesn't have to listen.
Unfortunately, nobody.
I got
The portal news has not been great if you're a Missouri Tigers fan. We'll just leave it at that. All right, Austin, you got 5, my friend. Appreciate you being a part of the show. We'll see if Jake Neighbors knows his board games.
Monopoly, Clue, Yahtzee.
Good one.
Trouble.
Nice.
Oh, goodness.
What else did I play? Obviously not much there, Jake.
Well, that's a +1 for Austin.
I never would have saw that one happening for you, Austin. Congrats.
All right, Austin, stay on the line. You are a leader in the clubhouse with a +1 over Jake Neighbors. We're going back out to the phone line to hear from Meredith. Meredith, how you doing today?
Doing great.
We appreciate you being a part of the show. Meredith, do you understand the rules of the game?
I do.
All right,
Meredith.
You're going up against Jake Neighbors today, and your category is NFL teams. Name as many National Football League teams as you can in 15 seconds. On your mark, get set, go.
Bears, Steelers, Green Bay, Detroit Lions, Packers, sorry, I already said that. Cardinals, Raiders, Rams, Saints, Dolphins, Chiefs, Titans.
Even with a repeat,
Crushed
she still
it.
got 11. Way to go,
And
Meredith.
acknowledged right away.
Yeah.
Whoops, already did that one. That was a nice round.
Look at you go, Meredith.
All right, Meredith. We're going to see if Jake
I don't think
Neighbors
T-Bone could have done that.
is a football
No
fan. Let's find out how he does with his NFL teams.
Atlanta Falcons, Philadelphia Eagles, Kansas City Chiefs, Pittsburgh Steelers, Baltimore Ravens, Cincinnati Bengals, Houston Texans, Buffalo Bills, New York Jets, New York Giants.
I got a 10.
I got a 10. Jake, if you wouldn't have said the cities, man, we would have probably cranked out like 13 of them.
Austin knew that this was going to end in controversy.
If Dan gets a +1, I even said it specifically at the beginning, no ties. Dan, don't screw this up, man.
All right. Dan is next up. He is also going up against Jake Neighbors. Dan, we need you to win by more than one. We're
Or
really
lose.
putting all of we need you to win by more than one. We're really resting all of our hopes on you. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing good, guys. How you doing?
Doing fantastic. Dan, do you understand the rules of the game?
I do.
All right, Dan. Your category today, television shows. Name as many TV shows as you can in 15 seconds. And please beat Jake Neighbors. On your mark, get set, go.
Leave It to Beaver. Friends. Oh, gosh.
Oh, Dan.
Dan, what are you doing to us, Dan?
I don't know.
And you did like a 30-year window in your first two answers.
I knew we were in trouble when the first answer was Leave It to Beaver.
Well, you know, we could just call this a game and say the audio failed for Jake Neighbors and Dan wins, but I don't think that's how we're going to do this.
Dan, you can stay on the line if you want to. I don't know if you need to, but we appreciate you being a part of the show, man.
Dan, honestly, probably hang up and just study up on some TV shows. Maybe expand your horizon beyond Leave It to Beaver and Friends.
We do appreciate genuinely, though, you
absolutely.
being a part of the show.
Love
and
you, Dan.
listening. Let's hear from Jake Neighbors.
Suits, Stranger Things, How to Get Away with Murder, Outer Banks,
Just stop it, T-Bone.
Selling Sunset, Bachelor, Love Island.
So here's my thought process on it.
I've got an idea.
Okay, do we want to have them go up against you and me?
I've got an idea. Winner today is going home with a signed hockey puck by Pavel Buchnevich. We are going to do a tiebreaker here where I will ask Austin and Meredith a very specific question. Can we put them both on the line at the same time, T-Bone? Do we have the ability to do that?
Let's find out.
All right.
Meredith,
on
Austin,
there.
can you hear
All right.
us?
I'm here.
I'm here.
Oh,
Fantastic.
T-Bone!
So you guys are going to have a tiebreaker, Austin and Meredith. Winner is going home with a signed hockey puck by Pavel Buchnevich. I am going to ask you this question, and you will tell me a number, and then closest to the pin without going over will go home with a signed hockey puck, all right?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Perfect.
None of them are happy about this.
Pavel Buchnevich has played in 640 career games. How many points does Pavel Buchnevich have in his career? Austin, we'll start with you.
I'm going to go 340.
All right. And Meredith, how many points does Pavel Buchnevich have in his career? He has played in 640 career games.
341.
All right. We have our winner. First of all, well done, Meredith.
someone watch his
Second
Price is
of
Right.
all, congratulations to Meredith. Going home with a signed hockey puck by Pavel Buchnevich and tickets to see the Blues versus the Kings coming up on January the 24th. Pavel Buchnevich has 482 career points in his 640 career games. Meredith, congratulations. Well done today.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Absolutely.
Meredith.
Stay on the line. We'll get all of your information so that way we can get that signed hockey puck and tickets to Meredith.
I thought you were going to go with how many games has he played with the Blues.
That would have been a good idea, too.
I pulled up Jake Neighbors by accident, so I was like, 482. What?
Coming up next
Woof.
with the Rewind, put a bow on this show here on BK and Ferrario. Hey, it's BK. It is time to unlock your inner champion. The place to do so is with Victory Men's Health. I went to the Town and Country location earlier in the week. Super easy process. Booked that first appointment online over at victorymenshealth.com. Needed some updated micronutrient levels for me. It doesn't have to be that for you. Could be erectile dysfunction you're dealing with, maybe weight loss goals that you're trying to meet, low testosterone symptoms, whatever it is. Check it out over at victorymenshealth.com. For me, I walked through the door. Beautiful location, state of the art, as it always is over at Victory Men's Health. Met the people at the front desk. They're kind as always. Felt like going to family. And I was in and out within 10 minutes over at Victory Men's Health. Super easy process for you, whatever it means to unlock your inner champion. Find out what they can do for you over at victorymenshealth.com. And when you book that first appointment online, all you need to do, put in your name, email, phone number, tell them BK with 101 ESPN sent you, and tell them what it means for you to unlock your inner champion. It's all available for you at Victory Men's Health and online at victorymenshealth.com. With Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. If you guys missed anything from today's show, be sure to check it out on the podcast page, 101ESPN.com. The free 101 ESPN app is where you go to find it. It's all sponsored by
Schaefer Door Company.
Wasn't sure if you were going to be ready for that one.
No, I listen when I'm doing something else. Sometimes.
Okay, come on.
You can always check us out on YouTube as well at youtube.com/101ESPN-STL. And that is where you can find the latest edition of the Last Minute Blues podcast. It is always available for you over there.
1.8 thousand of your friends are watching that episode. Took me a while to get there. Wasn't the smoothest return.
I hope they're smoother
What
than
grade
you right
would
there.
you give today's show, Alex?
Missed a few conversations today, so I'd say like an 8.7. You missed a few conversations today, so
7.8.
Oh, did you do that on purpose?
I'm glad you like Arenado can really kind of self-reflect on everything. Yeah. I'll go 8. I'll go exactly at 8.
Do you guys undersell our show?
I thought we had a really good conversation on college football where I just kind of talked to the audience for 12 minutes. That was good.
I don't even think they were listening, man.
I do think that we had a good conversation on Brendan Donovan, what his future holds. I enjoyed our conversations today on Robert Thomas as well.
We had 3 great conversations today. 2 fun games. I don't know why you put it at a 7.8. Just because your Signetti segment didn't hit, man? It's all right.
I thought it did. Curb Stomp says I'd give today's show a 9.8 because of BK's take on Indiana University.
I think he's trolling you there. I think he's trolling you.
Or he's a big Indiana fan.
Yeah,
one of the two has to be the case.
If I remember Curb Stomp, I think he's trolling you.
Yeah, that very well could be the case. I think Splashback was a big fan of today's show.
Was he?
Over on the YouTube.
What about Harrison's brother, Master? He's
Not
always pretty
a fan
glowing.
Of anything we do.
He's always pretty glowing. Who was the one that called you a loser today on the text line?
Probably him. He normally does.
Somebody just said loser, and I'm like, cool, man.
Tomorrow on the show, we'll be joined by our friend. Mike McKenna, you're never going to believe this. The Blues won their most recent performance prior to Mike McKenna joining us here on the show. Now, it probably means they lose tomorrow night after he joins us, but we'll take it nonetheless.
That doesn't count for Mike.
So we'll talk to him. Anything else we have tomorrow, Alex?
Curbs is tomorrow. We had to reschedule on Wednesday, so we'll see how his voice is.
Looking forward to that. We will talk to you guys then live from the E&B Granite Studios out of the Centene Community Ice Center. For Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. The Fast Lane coming up next year on 101 ESPN.
Alex Ferrario back with you to tell you about my friends over at Classic Air Care, the company that has been making people comfortable since 1926. Incredible customer service, knowledge from their technicians. And look, this weekend, it's going to get freaking cold outside, which means you need to have